Okay, I think we're live. Yes, we are. And it is just coming up to 2 p.m. on this Sunday with, God almighty, there's 20 of you waiting for this to start. What a wonderful day. Hopefully it's starting to stream through where it should be. YouTube are currently testing out new live settings and systems and things, and a lot of those live settings and systems are completely interfering with what already works. So YouTube, as usual, is trying to screw YouTube over. But anyway, whatever happens, hopefully it's running live and you have settled into the Sunday service. Today there is F1 on the screens. Ireland won the rugby this morning, which is very good. A very convincing win against Scotland this morning. I got up early to watch it and everything. Well, not early, but got up to watch it. I had to watch a little bit of that. I do like a bit of rugby. I know some of the Irish rugby team, which is kind of weird. I've met them and interviewed them and talked to them and done stuff with them before, so I kind of know some of them. Not really personally, like I wouldn't hang out with them or anything. But anyway, the weather has taken turn for the worst. It is rubbish here in Ireland, but hopefully it's a little better where you are. And you're after snuggling up somewhere this morning, like I seen Naomi Panter this morning, who is a female race driver here in Ireland, tweet out that she was snuggling up on a couch somewhere with a bit of F1 going to come on, some newspapers, the news, and I reminded her that the Sunday service is on as well. I have changed phones, so if you're I was using my iPhone 7, which I recently bought used, mind you. I don't like the iPhone 8 or anything after iPhone 7 really, so I was using this for a bit, but I got a good deal online on eBay for a Xiaomi Mi A3, which is this one, and it seems to be really good so far. I mean, it's really good. It's much, you can see the difference in size. One is much bigger than the other, but this one is really good, but I'm not sure I have captured everything that I was on the iPhone. So, new phone, who this come up on your screen? It's me, probably. Straight away, Robert Clay Parker has sent some money by PayPal. You're very good, Robert. Thank you very much. You're a kind supporter. It's your support that keeps this channel open and running the whole time. If you want me to do a review of the Xiaomi phone versus an iPhone 7, let me know in the comments and I'll arrange that. We'll see if we can do that as well. I'm always interested in expanding what the channel does. I know you all like cars, but you might actually like phones and then headphones as well, which I also have Xiaomi headphones, Redmi AirDots they're called, which are very good. Anyway, Tam says, absolutely amazing videos, mate. Thank you, 100%. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. It takes bloody ages to make those videos. Particularly that Tesla one. That was very hard to make, as there's just so much in a Tesla. Not only do you have to learn, but some of the stuff that like the fanboys know about because they're on that thing, but as a normal car it doesn't work that way. Like the most commented thing is how I close the front trunk, which according to the manual in Tesla, to put your two hands on either side and push down gently on the thing. That's not how we've closed bonnets for the last 100 years. You drop a bonnet and it just closes, and that's that. Light rubbish. But anyway, long live diesel, crappy polluting electric crap, says Daniel 1. You have a point, Daniel 1. Electric is not as clean as people are making it out to be. It is becoming clean, but it has a ferociously bad past. So go back a few years and you'll soon find that electric cars, battery pollution and battery technology and the manufacture of new cars is very polluting anyway. But there is an element. Oh, by the way, there's a Nissan recall. I'm looking at the wrong phone. There's a Nissan recall which I saw this morning. They don't seem to have put it out as a general thing online, but I've seen in the EV Owner Club. You may get a letter from Nissan about your Nissan Leaf and some problems it's having with corrosion underneath around the batteries, I think. So bear that in mind. If you see it, will you tweet me a link to it? And I just want to see it, make sure, because we haven't got a press release on them. I'm always a bit nervous when they don't tell the press about a recall, because sometimes they're trying to get around us. That is a very generous amount of money that William Hope has donated to the channel on the super chat. You're very good. Thank you very much, William Hope. Again, it's people like you to keep the channel absolutely free. It means I get to stand in front of a car like a Tesla and say whatever I want to say about the car and have no recompense about who I'm talking to or what I'm saying or anything else. So it means the channel can be very honest. And there's not many of us out there who are generally that honest, to be honest with you. Either the channels are huge and so they can afford to ignore advertisers, or they're small and they don't realise that they're going to have to take on an advertiser. I'm in a kind of unique position where I can get away with saying pretty much anything. It's your support that allows that to happen, and it's your support that buys equipment, that buys things and stuff to move the channel on. Hopefully I'll be able to do some live stuff with this. And while I'm on the subject of live stuff, On the 28th of October, 27th of October, I'm hoping we'll have a proper meet-up, a real meet-up, where you can meet me and the rest of the guys who usually hang out here online live right here in Portlaoise. We did this a couple times before. Very good. Maybe 20, 25, 30 people turn up to these sort of things. So if you want to come along to that, you can. 27th of October here in Portlaoise around 2 p.m. in Midway. Now, on the same day, there's a classic car show here in Portlaoise. It's Ireland's kind of only underground car park. So it's Laois Shopping Centre. It's actually a good show, but it's underground, so you have to go down into the depths of a car park. It's kind of cool. It's on the third floor, and it gets a good little turnout of cars, and bric-a-brac and auto test and all that sort of stuff turns up as well. Some rare oddball cars come up. It's worth coming along to, but that's on at 10 o'clock. So if you want to attend both, I will probably be at both. I'm actually supposed to talk in the Ideal Home Show on the same day, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do both of them. Anyway, I'll figure that out eventually. Sooner or later, it'll come to me. Someone will tell me I can be in two places at once. I don't have a manager. The other thing I'm looking for as well, this is another thing I'm reaching out to, people who live in Portlaoise particularly, but Mountmellick or Portarlington or kind of, Stradbally, or in that sort of range of people around the Portlaoise area. I'm looking for someone to help me with cameras. So a camera person. I'm not sure whether that's what I'm looking for or not, but I'm looking for someone a bit more adaptable. Maybe someone, a bit of an editor, a bit of a camera person, that kind of thing. And just see if we can strike up some sort of arrangement that suits everybody, that we can make this work in some way or another. But anyway, if you're into cameras, now you have to know what you're doing. I'm not looking to train somebody on how to use cameras. I don't care if you're interested in cars or not. That is completely irrelevant, actually. I'd prefer you're not into cars, if that was the case. But you must have your own transport. Would be the other part. That'd be very important, and that's why I say living in Portlaoise should be a real benefit to you, because you'll be able to meet maybe every day, maybe every 2 or 3 days, and decide what we're doing for the week. I have tea today, by the way, because it's cold, wet and miserable outside. Take me Schnapp says, good reviews, Bob, keep them driving on. I will, don't worry, they're going to keep coming. There's more in the can already filmed, ready to go. The next couple of weeks is kind of tame. Then I'm back into travel. I'm going back over to where am I going? Munich, I think, for a BMW X1 launch, and then there's a Peugeot 208e launched on Lisbon. Then there's the Nissan Juke, I think, in Barcelona. Like I haven't been there before. Anyway, I'll get to all of them things, and we try and get all the videos done from those as well. They're all coming up, and there's loads of cars between now and Christmas. And Christmas is on. There, I've said that word. Oh my God! Christmas is on the way, lads. If you're not buying your better half some sort of a present, or planning some sort of a present already, it's time you started planning for this sort of thing. It's coming, whether you like it or not. It's like tomorrow. It turns up anyway, whether you want it to happen or not. Shamrock 1693 says, Bob, I watched your Tesla Model X video this morning. Question is there services department in Ireland, or does it be shipped to the UK? Have spoken to 2 Tesla owners who have got theirs to go to the UK. There is. I have seen the Tesla service department van, which has Tesla written across the side of it, and the van is a Ford Transit, a small Ford Transit. Now, obviously, a van, van drivers, there's no van in Tesla, so they have to make this Ford version of it. But I've seen that definitely around Dublin, and they do have, the sales department in Dublin does have a service department, because I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. It's out the back, a service and cleaning department. Now, whether they can actually fix big things wrong with the cars, it's one thing being able to fix the suspension or the brakes or whatever. Any mechanic can do that, because the brakes and suspension system are all, they're Tesla, but they're all basic things that come from Mercedes group, or they come from the group somewhere in between, so it can be fixed that way. But things that are actually wrong with the electrical system, whether there's someone trained in Ireland to be able to do that, is another thing entirely. I know Renault ran aground recently when they were selling a lot of cars and didn't actually have now this is hearsay, but they didn't actually have a person in a dealership that could fix these electrical problems, that no one had been trained just yet, because they hadn't sold enough of them. It's very hard. Dealerships rattle through service department guys very quickly, because a service department guy gets hired as an apprentice or a trainee. It goes in, it gets sent off to Germany or France or wherever for training. They do all the training, to come back, and then some other car company will steal them. That's how it works. So they've got to continually train all these guys all the time, and it can be a big expense for these guys to do that. So, whatever. Make sure you click the like button if you wouldn't mind, if you're coming in there, just as you're landing. And if you haven't been here before, click the subscribe button, because it's very important you subscribe. So that keeps the channel really free. Actually, is the subscriptions running upwards. We get about 100 to 200 people, new people, 250 to 300 people a week now are subscribing to the channel, so it's growing rather quickly, which is cool. That's nothing wrong with that. I want that growth. It's lovely. But in actual fact, we've had just a tiny bit short of 20 million people have watched the videos on the channel, so it's actually kind of weird to be a big channel with small amount of subscribers. Well, not small, but not millions. Cormaca is here. Afternoon from Glenlow Abbey. Bob, did you figure out how to attach that tow bar yet? No, I rooted all over the car to see how that went on. I didn't see a way, and yet it was in the trunk at the front. I don't know what the hell that was for, or why you would even do that. I mean, look at what Audi or Volkswagen Group or any of those kind of guys do with tow bars. They tuck them underneath and you just press a button and they drop down, they click into place. That's expensive, but it's not like the Model X is exactly cheap nor anything. It's starting at 80 something thousand euro, which I do mention in the video. Everybody's focused on the 160 grand, which is kind of the top end of what it is in the Tesla group of what you can buy. Taxes and everything else paid, and then no discounts on it. But actually they start at about 80 grand, and I do mention it starts out cheaper than an Audi. The Audi e-tron starts off a little bit cheaper than that, actually. Andy McAfee says Tesla has a service centre in Dublin. I think one listed for Belfast is coming soon on their site. Yeah, it is. The service department is in Dublin. It's in Sandyford. I was in it the other day. That's where you picked the cars up from as well. Lovely bunch of people. But now, like I say, I don't know to what extent the service department works on. A service department could change brakes and suspension and all sorts of stuff, and I'm sure that's brilliant. But if you break down, having a service department in Dublin's deadly, but if you buy a Tesla in, I don't know, Mayo or Castlebar, the other side of the country, I don't know what the situation is with getting towed back to Dublin or whatever it is. Okay, so bear that in mind. Also, I met a couple of friends of mine recently, one member of this channel, a brilliant supporter here from Portlaoise, who has bought himself a Model S. So an older one, generation one. Still a handsome looking car though. He's had to buy them as well. So electric cars are really spreading and really starting to pick up. But actually, when you look at the sales figures, when you clinically remove all of the marketing spiel and all the stuff that Germany's set to spend 40 billion euro on cleaning up their act over there, because the German car market got caught with their pants around their ankles there. They really weren't prepared for this electric move that was happening behind the scenes. Very quickly they were dismissing it, and just that's not really happening. Don't be serious, that's not really going on, when in actual fact there was a groundswell of people underneath, and the Germans weren't ready for it, and the Germans still aren't ready for it. So technically speaking, they're playing catch up. But Volkswagen Group has bought up a lot of battery manufacturers, so supply of battery and tech shouldn't really be stymied too much by their investments, but we'll see whether that works out for them or not. Tesla, I think, will have a difficult time over the next 12 to 15 months. They're in a unique position. They have a good market share. They're a trusted brand, and they're kind of unique in what they do. But it won't take long for kind of big car brands to come along, like Volkswagen Group, like Mercedes or whatever. Mercedes already supplying Tesla a lot of parts. Mercedes now understand what Tesla uses for its parts, so it's quite easy to do that kind of connection. So there's all kinds of stuff they can be doing about that thing, is whether Tesla's going to be around in 4 or 5 years time in its current form. Not unless they refresh their model lineup. I love the Model X, absolutely adore it, but it's not for everyone, and it's very expensive, and it's huge. And I was trying to draw people's attention to that in the video. Very often in videos you see Jack Black driving, it looks like a small little car. It's not small, it's a big car. It's as big as a pickup truck. It's as big as that Ford Ranger, as big as a Volkswagen Amarok. It's a big car. So bear that in mind, that once Volkswagen ID3 comes, which is a direct competitor for Model 3, the difference is that Volkswagen can produce a lot of ID3 in a very short pace of time, whereas Tesla don't seem to be able to ramp up to that level of supply yet. But we'll see if they can get there. Zelenko's in the house. Good man, Zelenko. Eric Rochford is here as well. That's after skipping for you. Afternoon, Eric. Jose 9000. I take it as a Jose, not Jose. Afternoon, Eric Rochford. I like to test the video. Nice long one. Yeah, I've been putting up the longer videos. Funny enough, do better. Weirdly, because YouTube is a very odd place at the moment. It's very odd. Lots of channels are being demonetized. Lots of channels are losing their verified tick and stuff. I never had one of them anyway. I don't care. I don't chase those things. I don't chase them on Twitter. I don't really chase them on Instagram. I don't care. You verify me or don't. I don't really care. It's just it's a pride thing. It's a thing to be able to say, well, I have a tick. Oh, wow, I feel so important. When in actual fact, it's just a stupid computer thing that turns on. And I was cheating for years. There's probably more people with a Twitter tick than there is without a Twitter tick these days. But where was I going with that? But on YouTube, it's about watch time, which has become a kind of a weird thing, really, on YouTube. They used to put a lot of emphasis on views, so how many people viewed your video. Then they put a lot of emphasis on how many people were subscribed to your video, to your channel. Then they've taken the emphasis off that. You notice now you just get a red subscribe click. It doesn't tell you how many people are subscribed to the channel already, and it has this like 41k in the corner. They don't really put up 42k. Then they don't really put up exactly the numbers. So they've done this kind of weird thing. They're starting to focus now on watch time, on how long someone engages with your video. Now, which means if you put up a 2-minute video and people watch 30 seconds of it, they're not really engaging with the video. You know, they have to watch the whole 2 minutes. But you put up a 30-minute video and they watch 5 minutes of it, they are engaged with your video. So longer content is what YouTube is after. So I've gone longer again on some of the videos, like at least over 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, some are not raging. But I don't really want to stretch it out too much in case I don't want to make it fill. Like, that's terrible. I prefer to control my content, you know. I think we're going to have another thunderstorm here today. It really does feel. Yesterday we had thunder and lightning here, so we might get a few flashes during this. We might have a little few nicks and things on the stream, but we'll try. Ricky Finley's here. Niall Burke is here. Arse About Face is here. William Hope, thank you, William. William is a big donator to the channel. Thank you very much, William. Paul O'Connor's here. Mr. Sin is here. Darren McDermott, hi Bob. I'm looking at a Skoda Kodiaq. Is the 1.5 TSI big enough for the size of car? Also, manual better than auto. Thanks, Darren. Darren, I have a few points on that 1.5 TSI. I've had the 1.5 TSI very recently, this week, in the Skoda. What is that little Skoda called that I went to Croatia to test? It's terrible, isn't it? Anyway, in a Skoda, I've had this 1.5 TSI recently, and I found it to be detuned. And so it has this ability to sort of, not kangaroo, but it has this in the morning in an auto. So I had a DSG. And when it was cold, it really did do this weird sort of a lurchy feel to the whole thing. It was horrible. And I felt it throughout the day, particularly where it was trying to go into 2-cylinder mode. You could really feel the click into 2-cylinder. And I'm not very happy with it. I think the 1 litre is a better car. But in a Kodiaq, 1 litre is going to be rubbish. If they even do 1 litre in a Kodiaq. The 1.5 TSI should be not detuned in that. But what I'd love you to do is test a Kodiaq in 1.5 from cold. Just turn up to any random dealership, see if they've got one standing there. If they have it there, turn it on and just give it a little test in cold. Certainly I think manual would solve the problem instantly. I think the DSG mix at the 1.5 really caused it a problem. It really did. I didn't really like that. Now I thought it was a bit weird. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend you get an automatic with a 1.5 TSI in any of the Volkswagen Group cars. It just doesn't seem very good. And yet I've driven Audi A3 and things in their cylinder shutdown mode, and I didn't feel any of that. It worked perfectly. But I think there's environmental stuff going on at the moment where they're detuning the cars to get the lower CO2. They're turning it all down, so you're getting a little bit less horsepower, a little bit less torque, but you're getting better fuel economy, you're getting better CO2 emissions, but it's actually affecting the performance of the car in general. Derek Norris is here as well. The iPad Kid 1000 says, I am in Ireland. Congratulations. So am I. So is a lot of people on this channel actually, but yeah, it's congratulations. I'm glad you're in Ireland. That's good. Remember to support your local community. Annie McPhee says, I got the Xiaomi Mi 9T Pro via Amazon Germany and released it there first for the EU. I got that Xiaomi from eBay, it seemed fine. I thought it was going to get all sorts of custom charges and stuff on it, but it didn't. However, that worked out. I think it was actually shipped from the Netherlands. The address said the Netherlands on it anyway. So, however, it's a Chinese company for sure that was selling it, but it was shipped from the Netherlands. So it's fine. It works fine for me. The video is pretty good on it. It can do 4K. There's 3 cameras on the back. I don't know why you need 3 cameras, but there's 3 cameras on the back of that. It's got a headphone socket. It's got fingerprint unlock built into the glass on the front rather than having any buttons on the front at all. There is physical buttons on the side for volume and switching on and off. It's very good. I've had it for 3 days. I'm not saying it's the best phone in the entire world or you should run out and buy one. I'm just telling you that phone has been better than that phone. The iPhone 7 is more expensive in used, and we're on iPhone 11 now, and that thing is €180. That Xiaomi, €180 on eBay. David Jones says, hi Bob, when will the government use electricity to recover the billions it would lose from the present love of the crack? Dave Durham. Just go back over that again now. When will the government use electricity? They will start now. Realistically, what you're being built up to at this moment is competition within the market. So Ionity chargers, which seem to be having gigantic problems at the moment. A good friend of mine, Philip Nolan, can't charge his cars from Ionity. I've seen multiple others report on Facebook and Twitter that they're going to Ionity chargers, they're putting in their cards, they're getting all their stuff registered, they're plugging in their car, it says it's charged, they come back in an hour and no charge. Charge has failed, charge is gone, they're stuck there for another hour while they're getting more charge. I've seen ones where people have plugged in a charger, it doesn't work, they plug it out, they plug in another charger, that one works for 20 minutes and then it cuts off. I've seen multiple problems here with Ionity chargers, so I don't know how reliable that is. As competition in the market, Ionity is the only competition against ESB. But they seem to be having major teething problems. ESB have not, to my knowledge, rolled out a single new charge point in Ireland over the last 6 or 8 months. So how that's going to work, I'm not too sure. But when they do, the ESB is a government body, and of course the government body will be controlled by the government. So if the government start to lose money on taxes from selling new cars or selling VRT or from diesel and petrol and stuff, they will recover it. The government have for a very long time now been pushing this point of making sure that they have, if they're earning 1 billion and you want to buy something or you want to do something and they're going to lose $1 million of that, they instantly ask you how to get the $1 million back. So they have to continue making the same amount of money. So for sure, ESB price is going to rise for everybody. I firmly believe it's going to rise for everybody. I don't think anyone's going to escape that one. I don't think people are going to be able to charge their cars at home forever at this cheap rate we're getting right now. I would strongly advise anybody to invest in a solar panel charger for their car if it's all possible. It's a little bit more of an expense, but if you can do it, a decent solar panel on your roof that could run straight to your charger. Those EV charge box can take a solar charger straight into them, so that could work for you. At least it would be a slight offset towards the bills somehow or another. So they will start right now, is the answer to that, David Jones. They will start beginning to think about rising the price of everything around it. The SIMI have just asked the government not to rise the price of VRT or change the taxes on new sales of cars, as they're in deep doo-doo on the amount of money coming in. The car industry is on the amount of money coming in from the car companies and from sales in general, but that's just a deferral process. So if they're going to defer how much money they put or the taxes or whatever, they're going to say don't do it this year, do it next year. So it'll be a year away, but you'll get these new taxes that will come in for sure. You're going to get ripped off. Learn to cycle. I've learned to cycle. I've had a bicycle in the shed out there for 15 years, an old mountain bike, and I rip it out every once in a while and go turn up to town and go shopping and do all sorts of things on it, and it cost me nothing. Zero. I used to work in a bicycle shop years ago. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to work in John Carney's in Kildare Town. I think it might still be there actually. Well, not where it was back then, but I used to go on to John Carney's and repair my BMXs and mountain bikes and racing bikes, and learned everything about bicycles. My first sort of mechanical thing was bicycles actually, but I'm not a mechanic, by the way. Archibald Face says 27th of October is a Dublin marathon. Wouldn't be that many people on this place that would be into doing marathons, although the marathon would make things busy. So you'd be coming out of Dublin to get away from the marathon down to Portlaoise. Anyway, afternoon, everyone says Graham Russell. Wizardon is here. Hi Bob, is there any savings in buying a car at auction? I'm looking to purchase a 2014 Focus diesel with a minimum mileage, or can you recommend a good economical diesel of any make? do a history check anyway, right? You can do a history check online. All you need is a license plate and a couple of quid, right? And what I mean by history check is go to Motor Check or go to, I don't know, Cartel or whoever. But Motor Check has always been good to me. They've always given me a shout out. And years ago, we used to work together in a couple of videos as well. So Motor Check are very good. They're not paying for that placement, but you can go onto their website. You can put in the license plate of any car. It'll show you where it came from. Well, it won't. You have to pay for that. I think it's 15 quid or something. So when you're sitting in an auction room, auctions can be terrible, threatening for people, but it's not actually that hard to buy things at auction. Before the auction, you look around the yard, you see what kind of cars you're interested in, you mark up 2 or 3 of those cars you think you might be interested in, you get a guide price in your head, you go inside, you throw your bids up, you win or you don't win, or someone outbids you, or you lose your nerve and you back out, or whatever it is. Always have a minimum, always have a maximum. So always think to yourself, right, I'm going tonight with 4 grand in my pocket, or 12 grand in my pocket, or 3 grand, or whatever the price is you've got in your pocket. I'm not saying carry 12 grand to a bleeding auction. Don't do that, right? But, you know, whatever it is, your maximum you can put out for that car, do not go beyond that maximum. Don't even consider going 100 quid over it. Nothing. Get away from it. Your maximum is your maximum. Should be no higher. But once you've reached that maximum and you bought your car, in between the two, when you're interested in that in the yard, pay the 15 quid, do the history check. You don't want an EU 3 or 4 diesel from the UK coming in here, because I guarantee you are going to fail the NCT in less than 3 or 4 years on those EU 3s and 4s. They are going to nail you on CO2 emissions in a couple of years' time. I know because I have a contact that works on Applias, and they've already been talking to the government about getting rid of dirty diesels off the road in Ireland, and the Environment Minister has been behind that. So for sure, dirty diesels, dirty petrols, old ones, ancient jokes that are putting out high CO2 are going to get targeted within the next 5 years in some sort of a budgetary way or in some sort of an NCT way. It's definitely going to happen. So if you're buying a 2014 Focus, you should be okay. But if it's a UK import, it could be EU 3 engines or EU 4 engines. They're not big heavy on those sort of engines, or weren't for the MOTs over there. It's getting a bit tighter for them. They're getting rid of diesels now, and they're all coming here. So do your checks. Make sure you do your motor check, or you do whatever online check you want to do. Get the reg plate, put it into the thing, have your budget, know exactly how much you're going to spend that night. Whether you're going to buy 1 or 2 cars, whatever it is. Understand you can't drive a car away from an auction, so even if you pay for it there and then on the night, they probably won't let you drive it away. You'll probably have to be towed away. Insurance, you have to transfer your insurance to it. Make sure there's no outstanding finance or taxes or anything. That's all your problem. That's not the auction room's problem. That's your problem. It can be daunting. Best advice, if you're interested in doing car auctions, go to one with no intention of buying anything. Go to one, sit through the whole thing. Go to Windsor car auctions, go to whatever car auction is on in the area. Spend the evening walking around and going inside and seeing how the flow of the thing goes. Go to 1 or 2 of them. After a bit, you'll put your hand in the air and you'll buy something. And the exhilaration is amazing. It's like gambling. You hope you got the right thing. Where are we next? Alan, by the way, there is savings in an auction. Yeah, for sure, definitely. You can get things for next to knock off prices in an auction, for sure. But you're stiffed with it. So once you take it home and you turn it on and there's a knocking from the engine, that's your problem. Alan Thompson says, "Hi Bob, great review of the Tesla car I will never own, thanks. Interested in your views on purchasing a 2013 Peugeot 508, the 2-litre turbo diesel. I do 750 kilometers commuting a week. Your review is great. Brilliant car. Suffers desperately from a lack of interior space, and I mean the door pockets aren't very big. There's nowhere to put things along the centre console. It's just one of those cars you love, but you can't live with. It's very hard to live in it when you want to put a cup of coffee down, your phone down, tissues or a takeaway or whatever. There's just nowhere to put anything. It really drives me up the wall about that car because it's such a good car. I love the car. That 2-litre turbo diesel is in basically every van on the road these days. It's reliable as an old clock once you keep it serviced. It's very reliable, so you should have no problem in that respect. Buy the manual version, don't buy the automatic. Peugeot make terrible automatic cars, so do Citroen, so do Opel, because they own all each other now. Their automatics are a bit rubbish. So buy the manual one. The manual one, make sure just check the gearbox. If it's a 5-speed one, it's French and it'll be very vague. So when you put it into third, it feels like it's in neutral. Try to get the German version they do is a 6-speed box, which is much more notchy. It's a nicer gearbox, it'll last you longer as well. You should have no problem with that. Just do your history check, make sure it's okay, and take it one step at a time when you're buying the car. If you're looking for that 508 and you like it, buy it. I have no problem with that. Just don't expect everything to be working in another 10 years' time. So in 2023, your car will probably be banjaxed. That's just the way. They're not longevity. Cars aren't built to last these days. Not the way they used to be, for sure. David Ryan, knowledge of stills cameras or video cameras, Bob? I have knowledge of both. I'd be more towards video cameras than stills cameras, but I certainly use SLRs, DSLRs, mirrorless cameras, GoPros and things in my video stuff. So they're, the DSLRs I use are all Canons, and they're stills cameras. Effectively, behind the scenes, they're all stills cameras anyway. So I have knowledge of all. So whichever one you want to ask about, work away. Operator Hoot, good afternoon, Bob. I like your apostrophe use. Well done. You never mentioned if the Tesla Model X has shopping bag hooks. Important details in this. I'm terribly sorry. I knew that after I'd made the video and I was sitting here editing the whole thing. I went, do you know, I never looked to see if it had. I never used the shopping bag hooks. It doesn't, is the answer to your question. Yes, that is a question. It doesn't have shopping bag hooks. It does have that underfloor trunk in the boot, which I think is genius, because you could literally just pour your shopping into that and leave it there. It's like a bath. It's brilliant. But no, there's no shopping bag hooks in the back of a Tesla. Sorry, I should have mentioned the video. I know it's like my thing. Every time I go look at a car, it's that. Michael Joyce, good afternoon, Bob. I hope you're having a good Sunday. I am so far. A very lazy Sunday, but a good Sunday. Just cleaned the house and listened to the show with some coffee. Horrible rain outside. It is lashing rain here as well. Rain across the country the next few days, I think. Beautiful sunshine. We're getting the tail end of a hurricane which went across kind of Caribbean area, and it's whipping around the sort of west coast of Ireland. It's dragging us rain and kind of miserable grey stuff. But in actual fact, this is fairly standard weather for Ireland. I would expect this every year. We've had a much more standard weather pattern this year for Ireland. Much more like my youth, very much more like my youth. Long days of sunshine coupled with kind of grey day after, a little bit of wind here and there, some snow earlier in the year. We're expecting some snow later in the year as well. It's like predictable, normal weather patterns that I would expect. Eric Rochford says, don't mention Christmas, Bob. Already fed up listening to ads. We're not even out in September. I have to mention Christmas because it's coming and I'm very excited about it. Because Christmas is exciting and that's just it. And my wife is going, no, go talk about Christmas. But I love Christmas. I think Christmas is brilliant. Absolutely adore it. There's a vibe that happens. You close that door off, would you, please? Thank you. She's going in out there and people are just leaving the door open and I can hear things coming through from television. And YouTube won't like that, start hearing topical shows on TV. But Christmas to me is a weird time of the year. I only kind of like the build up to Christmas. I don't actually particularly like Christmas Day, and I don't particularly like. I like Christmas morning because the kids are here. But if I was single, I wouldn't have any interest whatsoever in Christmas. But I love the build up to Christmas Day. It's a really cool time of the year to be kind of, you know, excited about something, an event, and it becomes a year end for me as well. It becomes this point of the year where I go, right, that was 2019. Now what are we going to do for 2020? So there's a gap happens after Christmas to New Year where I kind of plan out what the next year is going to look like, or the shape of it. Not necessarily any detail to it, but just kind of the shape of the year, things I'd like to achieve for the year and stuff. So for me, it's a rejuvenation. It's a chance to do it all again. It's a chance to get up some 1st of January and you're faced with 12 whole months of what can I do this year to improve my lot, or improve the lot of those around me. How can I make people feel better about themselves or feel better about their lives or whatever. So that's important as well, you know, to kind of get that feeling going. So Christmas time or December in general can be a very positive time of the year. It can be very negative for some people as well, but very positive for others. It depends on your take on life, really, and your mental state, which can be difficult to do, but at the best of times. Mandy McAfee, my biggest fear of the still rapidly emerging evolving EV would be the prospect of out of warranty ownership down the line. I need my non-dealer mechanic in some barn in the sticks to be ready for it. My biggest fear would be to buy, I'm not going to mention anyone's particular brand, but I buy an electric car today, right? And given my kind of ownership, I like to hold on to something until it's broken, or until I just get really bored of it, or I can't deal with it anymore and I need to get something else. So I could hold on to an electric car for, in theory, 10, 12 years, right? Now, in 12 years' time, if that car can't go as far as it could today, I'd be really annoyed if the range of the car, like my iPhone 6 that I had a couple of years ago, which still works here in the house, we use it for all kinds of things. But that battery in that doesn't last as long as it did when I bought it first. For sure, it doesn't. For sure. And the same applies for most other devices. And the same for this laptop that I'm using right here. The battery in this doesn't last as long. And it often says to me, service battery comes up on the screen as well. So, if that extends to cars, and a car was on it, what do we do with it? What do we do with that car? We recycle it? Does it have to be scrapped and taken out the road and recycled and we have to buy another one? Is this forced obsolescence, so to speak? My 13-year-old Seat Leon used to be able to do about 600 to 700 kilometres on a full tank of petrol, and it still can, without question, for sure. I could fill it up now and drive 700 kilometres in it. If I just took it really easy instead off motorways, I could definitely do 700 kilometres in it. It has 5 gears, so it struggles on motorways. So that my biggest fear of electric cars in the future would be that I have to change it. It won't go up the bloody town anymore because I'll get no power in it. Anyway, maybe I'm totally wrong. Trevor, I'm answering questions, by the way, from 2:12, so I'm already 20 minutes behind you. I'm sorry. There's so many people watching today. Again, we're back up to it. Last week's Sunday service was one of the biggest ones we've ever done. It's like 2,500 people watched it. So it's growing, and it's growing very quickly, and I love that. It's deadly to have you on board. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, for God's sake, and hit the bell beside the subscribe if you want to get a little notification on your phone as to when I go live again. You know, there's always a few around. You can also support the channel as well. There's a list of links down below. You can use any one of those that sends support to the channel, whether it's by PayPal or your Patreon, or you can use a super chat here, or you can buy something in the Amazon shop, or you can buy something on Teespring. Whatever it is you want to do, they're all ways to support the channel, but the most important way is hit the subscribe button. Trevor says, hi Bob, 80k is way out of 99% of the population's budget, even second hand, and 10 years old they will be crazy expensive. Well, you see, no one, and this is what I heard the other day, no one or very few are buying with cash. So most people are not walking into a dealership and going, here's 80 grand for a car, because if they'd know the real price of cars. So a Hyundai Kona EV 5-seat car, it's not really 5-seat, 4-seat maybe, with a tiny little boot on it, is 50 grand. It's 49,200 and something quid to buy one of them with no discount. Now, do you think any of the owners of that actually paid that price, or they're buying it on PCP? They put down a deposit of 4 or 5 grand, including their own car, and they're paying the rest off in PCP finance. See, nobody knows the real price of it anymore, because car companies are hiding it very slowly, and they're training you to not ask about the retail price of the car. They're training you to ask about the weekly price, the monthly price. This happened when I was young as well. It was called a HP, hire purchase. It was exactly the same principle. They did exactly the same thing back in the 80s. They forced people into the hire purchase system, which will ruin your credit history if you ever miss a payment. It will ruin you. You will never get a mortgage again in your entire lifetime if you miss a single car payment at any point. It'll sit on your history for 5 or 6 years. So just be aware that that's how people are buying cars. They're not walking in and paying 80 grand. You see someone cruise by you in a Tesla Model S, they've leased it. That's what's happening there. They've leased it, or they've put it on PCP. Actually, if you go to the tesla.ie or Tesla website, Ireland or whatever it is, and you click in what car you're looking for, at the end of your selection it tells you the price of the car, but actually what it tells you first is the PCP price of the car. Then you have to click on cash, how much would be cash. Anyway, Pat Nolan, hi Bob, what do you think of the new surface of the M7 in the rain? It's like a swimming pool. I think it's a disaster waiting to happen. You're absolutely right, Pat. I drove up the other day in the lovely summer sun in an electric car, Tesla, and it was like driving on glass. It was so quiet, hoovering along on that 100 kilometre an hour zone, or 80 kilometre, I think it's 80 kilometre an hour now, but it's going to 100 or 120. But on the way back down from Dublin, I was in a Skoda Scala, which is also equally quiet when you're driving along, because it's a little petrol engine fizzing away underneath the bonnet. But it was lashing rain, and the whole place just evaporated. I couldn't see any of the white lines. The active cruise control would not activate because I couldn't find the white lines. Everything was washed away. I don't know where the drainage. What happened to drainage on that new N7? It's not draining off properly. It just looked terrible, and looked like just a collision waiting to happen for sure. But yeah, I'd have to see it again in the rain, maybe over the next couple of days, because it'll be raining for the next few days. I'll be up in Dublin tomorrow, so I'll certainly be having a look at that N7 tomorrow. If it's bad, I'll be reporting on it for sure. Trevor says, how's everybody on this fine Sunday? I'm fine, yes, for sure. Just a bit worn out the weekend, and I've worked every day for the last 9 or 10 days or something. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine, you get through it. Annie McPhee says, reference the Tesla service department abilities for depth repairs. Following loosely the Apple model so far in the US, they seem to just replace everything that's faulty rather than repair and won't sell bits. That is true. I've seen that multiple occasions where a lot of particularly car companies like these guys don't have a repair dude. And what they do is they just replace stuff, which is a big thing. So you can imagine how fast that would go south, in that they're not recycling everything that's coming off the car, they're not repairing it. No repair person. It's easier to replace things than it is to repair things, but repair is not something electric cars do very well. For some reason the screen looks kind of milky. I'm not sure why that is. It could be just the weather or something, when you're looking on video. Hopefully you're just listening though, because most people don't want to see me on it. They want to see the chat and they don't want to see me. Andy says they won't sell important parts to owners to do anything outside their own closed system. That would be the very same as Apple. Apple are doing that very much so in the US. If you ever watch a channel called Lewis Rossman, he's a repair shop in New York, a technical repair shop. So he repairs laptops and electronic devices, and he gives out an awful lot about the way Apple behave towards parts for him, or replacing parts that he replaced the part and then they go to an Apple store and the Apple store won't touch it because somebody else replaced the part, not an Apple, but it's an Apple part replaced by an Apple trained technician, all that sort of stuff. So all kinds of problems. Paul McMillan, hi Bob, hi Paul, how you going, man? Is everything okay with you today? Ooh, somebody's ringing. Oh, that's my Ring doorbell. I have a doorbell thing called Ring. Do you ever use one of them? It's brilliant. I replaced my doorbell with this camera thing. It's your doorbell, but what happens is if anyone goes in or goes out, or anyone presses the doorbell, it rings your phone, and you can talk to them on the phone. You can talk to them standing at the door, and you can listen to them, and it's all sorts of weird crap. It's really good. I don't know whether you give away all your details to the entire world, or whether Amazon can sit here looking at my front door, but there's not much interesting that happens out there. But I do have one now, and it's good because you can keep an eye on anything that happens outside your front door. Eric Wadge says, I'm not sure VW can ramp up as quickly as one might think. Apparently deliveries for the ID3 will start summer 2020. That is true. That's, as far as I'm aware, I was in the Frankfurt Motor Show and I spoke to some Volkswagen people there, some very senior executives, including the chief designer of Volkswagen. Got drunk with that man one night. He's a lovely guy. Before he was the chief designer, I got very drunk with him in Sardinia once. He was a lovely man, tie on his head and everything. Anyway, I spoke to him about it. So it's not that they don't have enough batteries or they don't have enough access to parts. The deliveries will start in summer 2020 because they have to wind down. You can't just kind of throw electric cars into the manufacturing process, say, of a Golf, right? If you've ever been in a car factory, you've got a line that caters for Volkswagen Golf. That line sometimes morphs into Polo, sometimes it morphs into something else. But generally speaking, if the Golf is scheduled for Monday to process through Thursday, they have an engine, windscreens, chassis, gearboxes, wheels, tires, all lined up outside, ready to shuttle in onto that line. If you throw in something new like ID3 onto that, they have to ramp up and completely bring in different chassis, different engine, electrical engines and electrical components. Can't just be kind of shoved into a line. So they have to build an electric line. They have to build a separate line. That means training new people. That means getting new jobs, but it means retraining old jobs because you're taking jobs from the diesel side of things and the petrol side of things. So it's a tricky thing. So they're just scheduling first deliveries for 2020 to be on the safe. They don't want to start pushing it out too much. They have to have a launch as well, and they have to be sure they're right in what they're doing. There'll be redesigns coming as well from the Frankfurt Motor Show. There's a lot of problems. I think the way the car looks is, I don't think it's ready. I don't think people will necessarily buy straight into the look of that car. It's okay, but I just have a little plasticky on the back, and I have a feeling it's going to be very expensive. Anyway, we'll see. Gary Glennon, what do you think of the Kia e-Soul? Is it worth the money? Yeah. Well, no, it's not worth the money, Gary, but it's bang on the price of everybody else's. So I'm not saying it's It's not the cheapest option, it's not the most expensive option. It's in the middle of the whole lot. But I love the Soul. I think the Soul is one of the nicest cars that they make in electric range. I know people like Michael Sheridan, a mate of mine, he'd be a fan of the Nero. And actually those two cars are going into our Irish Car of the Year this year, which I'm the chairman of that group. I'll be giving a talk on the stage. I haven't even written a word of that yet. I have to give a talk on the stage that night in front of everybody. Bloody hell. Anyway, a couple of hundred bodies there to see what's going on. But besides that, the Kia Soul is up for Irish Car of the Year this year, the Environmental Award, and of course in its 5-door hatchback. We will be treating electric cars this year as ordinary cars, so you'll see things like the Kia Soul will probably go in against some other SUV or something as well as some diesel yokes. You know, it's kind of have to treat them as mainstream cars now because they're no longer a special EV range of cars, but we can still have that award. But the e-Soul is my favourite one currently. It's the one I'm pushing everybody towards when they're asking about what electric cars should buy, is the e-Soul or e-Nero. Either one of those two. They're good value for money. They're good, honest 5-door family hatchbacks with long range, so you won't really notice travelling across the country. I've driven a Soul to Galway and back. I've driven the Tesla from Waterford here to Waterford and back again. I've driven, range is not a big deal anymore. Brian Jorgensen says, hey Bob, I still need to buy an EV and still really don't know which ID3 L-Born or Model 3. Model 3 is out. No one has driven ID3 or L-Born. So just remember those two little factors, right? That no matter what you see, no matter if you see Bobby Llewellyn off out in Spain driving what he says is the ID3, he wasn't. He was driving a pre-production of the pre-production. So and the same applies for Johnny Smith, and he's driving the Taycan. Again, it was pre-production what he was driving. The video was held over until afterwards. I'm actually in one of the fully charged videos that I watched the other day about the autonomous driving in France, done months ago, but they've just released it the other day, and I'm in it. I'm in the background of it, in the background of walking around looking at stuff. But no one has driven ID3 or L-Born. People have driven Model 3, and I'll be driving Model 3 later on in the year as well. It is coming, I hope, if Tesla really pull their finger out and get it done properly. But that would be the only one that I know and I've sat in and I've enjoyed. And I've sat in and enjoyed the other two, but I've not driven either one of them. So I couldn't tell you. I would hold on. Don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush to buy the latest of everything. There's no harm in waiting. Driving whatever you got right now until next year. Leave it till summer next year. You've seen a few reviews. What's it really like? Get honest reviews on the car. Don't be thinking about fully charged or any of these kind of guys. They review cars, but sometimes they can be a little bit over the top on electric stuff. So they think it's the greatest thing to ever walk the planet when it's kind of iffy. Zdenko, I can understand that electric cars are the future. Well, I don't know about that one either, and I like them, but infrastructure for supporting them is still in its beginnings, and the latest clean diesels are still easier to live with. Yes, absolutely. I had this talk with Philip Nolan on Twitter the other night. He said he had a massive problem with the Ionity chargers, that he couldn't get the bloody thing to work, and then when it did work, it didn't work properly and it didn't charge the car properly. And I said, God, we're getting rid of diesels and you can fill them up in 10 seconds and drive another 1,200 kilometres. I still remember a video I did of the Audi A6 earlier on in the year, and I got in and I pressed the start button and the range came up on the dashboard and it said 1,250 something kilometres to empty. And I drove 1,000 kilometres that week and dropped the car back and never put a single drop of diesel in it. And if I had to, it would have taken me maximum 15 minutes to do that and do another 1,200 kilometers. So we are just dumping that ability in favour of electric now, and I'm not sure electric is the absolute future. I think there's a lot of money going into hydrogen now. There's a lot of money going into alternative fuels in general. A lot of money going into solar cells and solar panels and things. All this sort of stuff is happening in the background. It's 10 years away maybe, but at the same time we're changing into cars now that might be worthless in 10 years time. We just don't know. We don't have a used car market for electric cars because it's distorted. It's massively distorted at the moment. The electric car market has so much desire about them. People are looking for used cars. So 8-9-year-old Nissan Leafs are going for 4 and 5 grand. It's insane money. You'd be stupid to buy into a car at that kind of money. You'll never see the colour of that back out at Nissan Leaf. An 8 or 9-year-old car can't be worth more than 3-4 grand. That's it. But anyway, he says 1.5 TSI with DSG has been given issues with failing to restart also after start-stop cut-off, leaving folks stranded. Worth a Google. VAG, that's Volkswagen Audi Group, by the way. Well aware and working on it, and has been an update. Might be fixed. Well, it wasn't fixed in my Skoda Scala when I had it. It just seemed to be doing this every time, and especially in the mornings. Really aggravating. My kids were even going, what's wrong with the car? As we're going up to school, just leaving the house. Mick Mulcahy's in the house. Come on, Mick, you joined us. We're late, but you're here. 2:20 is what I'm answering at the moment, so I'm about a half an hour behind you. Sorry. It's very hard to answer everybody's questions, and I'll catch up over time. But subscribe. So a lot of people watch this afterwards as well. I notice a good, maybe another 1,000 people come on and watch the Sunday service after or stream it for their housekeeping, or they go. And I got multiple emails one week. Guys go running. They time their 2-hour run to the Sunday service because it's 2 hours long, and I give updates to time throughout the whole thing, so you know how long you've been listening. All sorts of stuff. It's really cool. There's a little sort of a community gathering around the edge of it. It's really cool. But if you can join us, it'd be great if you could join us on that Sunday, if I can, the 27th of October, 2 p.m. here in Portlaoise. Or we'll arrange somewhere to meet. I haven't guaranteed the position yet, but just mark in your calendar 27th November. You can go over to our Facebook page, Sunday Service Community on Facebook, ask to join. Myself and Andy will let you join in that group, and in there's an event already set up, so you can just click a reminder and all that stuff in your Facebook stuff. Not that I use Facebook all that much. Trevor, 3 sell Xiaomi handsets for cheap enough if you don't want to order them from abroad. I like to own my own thing. I hate being caught in, I don't mind signing up for a contract with 3 for 18 months at 15 quid a month or something, and 18 months time the contract becomes mine. When you sign up and buy a phone from them, you're stuck with them. You can't get out of it, and you're probably going to pay the odds over the odds in renting the thing. So I prefer to have my own phone, buy it, and then get the cheapest offer, whether that's SIM only or whatever from the company. It's much cheaper that way. It works out much cheaper over time. Not always cheaper up front, but literally 180 quid for this, and it's like the latest one, and it's Android One as well. So it's the what would you call it? The cleanest experience of Android you can have. So no bloatware, no advertising, no nothing on it. It just came as is, and you just end up using Gmail, which I was using all along anyway. Where I was just going to check my emails, make sure I'm not getting a pile of emails about. Yes, I am. That's very good. Thank you very much, all the donations. There's one secret donation, does not want his name read out. Thank you very much. You're very kind. But if you can support channel, it's brilliant. It is a list of links down underneath this video. PayPal.com. Look up BobFlav at thenextgear.com and send some money that way. Or you can go over to Patreon, whatever you call that thing, and donate a little drip feed there if you want to put in like 2 quid a month or something. It's good. Any of those ways, but at least hit the subscribe button and the like button while you're here. 108 of you watching right now. You can click the like button. There's only 42 likes and 108 watching. That doesn't mean you're not watching. I love the way it says started streaming 51 minutes ago underneath my little stream now. That's pretty cool. Never seen that before. That's new. Annie McPhee says reference Xiaomi, their UI over Android MUI is a bit Marmite. No app drawer in version 10, but returning in the next update, thankfully. Really impressed with the camera setup and a massive screen. See, I got Android One, so there is a little app tray thing. Look, see, I have an app tray thing, which is this bit. I didn't know what an app tray meant, but now I do. Do I find it any better, any worse than iPhone? Not really. The only thing that does hang over is some of the stuff I used to do on iPhone I did for family. So we had a family calendar for my international trips, so we could organise holidays and trips and days off and things. And we have the kids set up on iPhone, so they can't download an app without asking me on my phone. I can do it from anywhere. It comes up as a click get on the top, so I can restrict that. That would be the only drawback, that some of the things I was doing on iPhone I can only do on iPhone. That doesn't mean I can figure it out later, but we see. I'd love a loft-based power bank with solar, where solar isn't enough that you could top off with a night meter on a cheap and use during peak. I can see folk doing this with written-off EVs in future. That's what I was thinking as well. You know, if you think about it, the battery pack from an EV, even when the car is destroyed around the battery's probably still okay. And much like many years ago, people used to run an old diesel engine out of a tractor or something as a generator. That was a normal thing to do once upon a time. A backup generator, you'd start a tractor and plug into the tractor and convert the power down to run your house. Totally possible. We can do that with EVs these days as well. Like a Nissan Leaf battery, the 60 kilowatt hour battery pack, strapped to your wall, powered by solar panels, and it's trickle charging your house. That'd be good, wouldn't it? You could do that with a written off one. Never fail to read and fully understand buyer fees at auction that you will be subject to in addition to bid of the fall of the hammer. Catch as many first time buyers out big time. Yeah, be careful of that. All auctions, this isn't just auctions of cars, auctions of antiques. Any auction you go to has what are called fees. The fees go straight to the auction house. Nothing at all to do with the hammer price, right? That's called a hammer price. So if you're bidding away there 500, 600, 700, 800, sold at €1,000 to number 92, click, right? Now that's €1,000 going in that goes to the owner for the car. There could be 200-300, maybe more of auction fees. Look them up on the way into the door. They'll tell you what they are. Sometimes they're a percentage of the price. So if it's 10 grand, you might pay 5% auction fees or 3% auction fees. If sometimes it's a flat fee, depends what it is. So if they sell something for £2, you can still end up paying a tenner because there's £8 auction fees on it. Mad, isn't it? That's why auctions are very hard to penetrate. For people who've never been to an auction before, it can be hard to get into an auction in the first place and understand how it works. Frank Metcalf is in the house. Frank is here. Tesla, passed you in a Tesla last week. Tuned in today. Good man, Frank. See, pass me. When you flash the lights and beep the horn, I want to pull over and let you see the Falcon Wing doors, which are entertaining for at least 20 minutes. Absolutely. At least 20 minutes later, you'll still be looking at them things going, that's amazing how them doors open and close. It just depends how it works. Cass, oh no, I know. Did you ever make it in the background of the review vid, Frank? Did you, Frank? Were you in the background? I don't know. Maybe you were. Cass Mitchell. If Fine Gael, here we go. Political thing. Hang on, I was preparing myself for that. I was preparing myself for reading out things about Fine Gael because I get so irritated because we're led by a pile of donkeys who are just lining there. Oh no, I won't go there. If Fine Gael love the EU so much, why can't they abolish the VRT so we can actually afford decent cars? Well, let me get on to that high horse for you right now and kick you in the balls with that one. VRT was brought in by Fianna Fáil, not Fine Gael, but Bertie Ahern and his ilk, along with the SIMI, let me tell you, and the backing of the car industry were being absolutely decimated by imports into Ireland way long ago, when Bertie Ahern was travelling around Dublin as the finance minister with a lovely suitcase full of cash and didn't own his own house. Anyway, that was our Minister of Finance who had a suitcase full of cash. Brilliant, that was him. That was the finding of a tribunal. But that Minister of Finance brought in the VRT. VRT is vehicle registration tax. So if you bring a car from anywhere on earth to Ireland and you want to drive it on Irish roads as a registered owner in Ireland, so if you have an address here in Ireland, you don't drive the car on the road, you have to pay vehicle registration tax, which is a tax on the license plate, not a tax on the car. Now, technically, to tax an import from the EU is actually illegal under EU legislation. So that was the free trade agreement we signed with the EU. So if you want to go to France and you want to buy yourself a laptop in France and bring it back to Ireland, technically you don't pay any import tax to bring that into the country because you bought it from another EU state country. Now, if you go over to France and buy a car and bring it back here to register the car in Ireland under Irish license plate, you pay VRT. So technically it's a legal tax in the first place. But to come back to your actual point of getting rid of VRT, VRT currently makes the coffers of the country, the taxes of the country, a humongous amount of money. A gigantic sum in the billions come in from taxes on cars every year. If you would abolish VRT, you would abolish that tax. They would move the tax to something else, it would be called something else, but essentially it would still be VRT in some way or another. And that is the crux of the matter. We do absolutely need to get rid of VRT, but not enough people really have a hunger to get rid of it, so we plough on as if VRT is something that we like to do. It's good for us, it's good for the economy to have the VRT. We changed VRT recently and it's much better now. It still makes our prices distorted. It's funny when I see comments on my videos when I mention the Irish price of something and I go, this Kia Ceed is like 30,000 and I don't say euro, and the English guys go, it's 30 grand for keyed. So they go a little while. I love that reaction. It's great. It really does work out. Where are we? Oh my god, we just hopped forward like a lunatic and I missed everything that just passed by. I'll catch up with you though. Talk amongst yourself for a second. There's Zdenko. I seen that one. Seen them ones. There's Cass Mitchell for Fine Gael. They can't abolish VRT, right? They can't. They say they can. They can't. They'll move it to another tax. They're ripping you off left, right and centre. Elect the right people next time. What happens is people are terrified to get elected. Loads of people have asked me to run for local council because they think I'm really outspoken. I'll say whatever I want to say, right? The minute you put your head above the parapet to run for local council is the very second that they just go into your history, do everything you've ever said on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, whatever you said, and they'll try and beat you to death with it. It's a popularity contest. That's all they elect you for, to be a popularity contest. If you're popular with the people, you have to be popular with the politicians so they don't attack you. That's all. That's it. That's how you get elected in this country. When Bob seizes power, VRT will be abolished on day one. Yes, it would. As would car tax, motor tax, the tax you pay to drive your car on the road. Abolished instantaneously. I'd move it to fuel. I'd make your fuel very expensive, but you know what? If you want to drive in this country, you're going to pay the price, and you pay by fuel. So the more you drive, the more money you pay. Simple as that. If you want to be environmentally friendly, that's how you do it. It's not really rocket science. Like, you're taxing CO2. What creates a CO2 is the cars burning fuel. What creates the cars burning fuel is petrol and diesel in the ground. You tax the petrol and diesel in the ground, people drive less. You get lower CO2. They can drive whatever they want. They can drive a 1972 Rolls-Royce Corniche that will empty their pockets completely every single day, but they can make that choice if they want to because they can drive it and they can pay more tax. That's it. Not hard. Anyway. Jerry's DIYs in the house. Hi Bob, what mic do you use in your car while driving, and what are you recording with? Cheers, Jerry. Jerry's got a channel of his own, Jerry's DIY. We talk regularly on the phone. Well, not regularly. We talk every once in a while on the phone. The mic I'm using currently in the car is a Rode wireless mic. It's a new one from Rode. A little small kind of rectangular thing. You pick them up online. They're like $150 or euro or something. You get them here in Ireland as well. And it's coupled to another little Rode lapel mic. That's sitting on top of the camera. The camera is a Canon 60D, so a lightweight lens on a tripod. That's literally it inside the car. It's not hard, but it does take up the whole front seat of the car. So. There's Talon. Tal also has a gaming channel as well. If you're into gaming stuff, Talon's been around for a very long time and sells those little stickers. That his icon there, or the little smiley devil face, is one of his stickers, which I think I ended up with on the boot of my Nissan 370Z many years ago. But that's okay. I did enjoy the rugby. Yes, I did. It was very, very good. I like getting up. I like the rugby. I like international Irish rugby. It's very good. Far better than football or any of that. I'm sure Gaelic is very good as well, but just never into it. The iPad Kid 1000 says, I sent you money via PayPal. I was wondering, did you get it yet? I don't know. Did you send it now? Like today? Or yesterday? Or when did you send it? I don't know. I got money there a minute ago from John Kennefic. Oh, John. So when I have to, is that you, John Kennefic? I don't know. See, that's the problem. Is your username here has nothing to do with your username on PayPal. So I don't know who pays what and where. Anyway, I have to read this out. John Kennefic says, "Hi Bob, how are you today? I'd love to see the iPhone review, please. Yep, deadly, no problem. I'll do that. Love your car review and the way I love long videos. Keep up the absolutely fantastic work. Thank you in everything you do. Kind regards, John Fennick." Oh, there you are. iPad Kid 1000. Yeah, congratulations. You put your sign in there as well. Thank you very much, John. You're very good. That is an amazing support you've given the channel. And I will certainly, just for you, do a versus video. So maybe Android versus iPhone, or we'll do iPhone 7 versus me. What's that called? A3 me. Something like that. One versus the other. We'll do a speed test or something as well and see how that pans out. Be very good, I think. Any predictions on the World Cup Rugby final, says Andrew Daly. Whoa, you off onto Paddy Powers like a hot snot as soon as I give you the thing. Ireland will do well. I'm not sure they're going to win this year. They have put up a kind of a weird, they did well against Scotland, but I actually think Scotland played very badly rather than Ireland played very well. There was a couple of exceptional things that Ireland did in that match, which I found very entertaining to watch. So there's brilliant interceptions and absolutely brilliant kind of one-off runs that were made by the team. But as a team, they didn't seem quite as cohesive as they have been in the past, Ireland. We seem to be jumping a little bit here online, so I'm just going to let that calm down for a second. But I do think Ireland are going to do well. They will place first or second, possibly. I think Scotland are going to do fairly miserable. They didn't look like they were playing well there at all today. A couple of sparks, but it just couldn't make things come together. So it was a difficult sort of day for Scotland today, for sure. Ireland just did very well. We'll see how the rest of it pans out. Did you see that story this morning where RTE sent out 5 or 6 advertising people out to Japan to enjoy the festivities and stay in a 5-star hotel and stuff, and they're complaining about not having enough money? They should come and work in my channel for a minute. Come send some RTE people here and see what it's like at the real cold face when you've got no budget whatsoever to spend on stuff apart from what you beautiful people send by means of PayPal and things. Annie McPhee put up a link there to Kia e-Soul review. You can look at that after the Sunday service. Thanks very much. Vinny Phelan, hi Bob, that for allowing my post for the racing at Tipperary Raceway on 12th and 13th of October on a topic of discussion today. I do a commute from Kildare to Limerick City. Do you? Every day? That's a long drive. Limerick is a good hour and 10 from my house, and Kildare is 40 minutes further up, so it's a fair old whack of a drive now, that is. Any ideas when we actually see an electric car that will commute around 300 kilometres commute and do many light diesel hybrid cars? Right, so the biggest problem for electric, and it's going to continue being a problem, I believe. So electric's great at torque, electric's great at kind of getting 0 to 60 times and that sort of stuff, but on cruise, so when you actually get out at higher speeds, wind resistance and multiple other factors start to draw away that power, because it never gets a chance to replenish it, so it never decelerates on a motorway. You go to 120 or whatever speed you drive at, 110, 130, whatever speed you think you're driving at, and it never decelerates, so it never gets a chance to recoup any of that power, so you drain the battery a bit faster. But 300 kilometres, if you're able to charge at the other end in Limerick City, 300 kilometres is totally possible in anything like Kia Soul, e-Niro, any of the Teslas. Who else has got that kind of range so far? Kia, now I know Hyundai have a couple of cars out there as well, the Ioniq and those other ones, they're the same cars as well. They can easily do that kind of journey. It's just you have to charge the other side to be sure you're going to get back on the same charge. Obviously overcharging the car, so charging to 100% every single charge will wind down the amount of charge time or the amount of charges it will take. Don't bear that in mind as well. You know, with your phone, if you're charging your phone, you charge it 80 to 90% every time, leave that extra 10. You don't need it. Don't charge it to 100 every single time. The amount of cycles, it's called, that a battery could do winds up being less. But there'll be, next year we'll see the ID3, which better have the longer range one at a reasonable price. If Volkswagen are doing it, Audi will up their game in that as well. So will Skoda, so will Seat. They will all start moving towards that electric point, and they'll start to extend the range. And if they don't buy it. Use your money carefully around these sort of things. If you support them selling you short range cars, they will continue to supply you short range cars like Honda did with that little cute car that they had, which is a gorgeous little thing, beautiful inside. The range is miserable. Who's going to buy that? You'd be mad. Don't buy that if you live in London or something. You're crazy out of your mind. That's built for Tokyo or built for Japan, small little countries. Hellhound, what a name. It seems to me that everyone wants to save the planet, but only if it saves them money. Correct. Irish people buy on tax. If you ever worked in a dealership or even stood in a dealership and someone walks in and they go, well, how much does it tax that car? The first question out of their mouth, not how many people can I fit in that car, how big is the boot, what size of engines it got, what's the fuel economy, not how much tax am I going to pay it. So if they can save money by paying less tax, they will. So they make tax decisions instead of making a proper decision for their own car. Tal says, Tal and Gaming, you should do a live Sunday service. You should do a live Sunday service. That's what you're talking about. I have a meetup to do in real life. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. 27th of October. We've done a couple before. It's a live meetup. Bring whatever car you drive. You don't need to bring something special. It doesn't have to be classic. It can be whatever it is you own. You bring it along. No shame. You've never been to a meetup before. You've never been to anything. You all know me. If you've watched the service, you know me at this point. I'm basically the same in real life as I am on this service. So you already know me. So you'll know that where I will be. And what we're aiming at is Midway. Now, Midway is under construction at the moment. There's a new apple green going into it. A service station, so petrol station now, is going in there right beside Midway. If you've ever been there before, there's a little field off to the left side of Midway, and that's been extended out into by a new service station, which is now open and serving petrol, but it's not finished. So there is a lot of other stuff going on in the car park, and that car park can get very, very full. So a couple of Sundays before, I'll check to see what kind of amount of cars is in that car park already. Because the last time I did a Sunday service, like 25 or 28 people came to it. That's 28 or 30 cars that turned up as well. So you never need spaces. So 27th of October, 2 p.m. in Midway so far, and we'll meet there and have a live meetup, and I'll go live with my phone, and we'll see if we can get something from 2 onwards as well while you're out talking amongst yourselves. So bring whatever car you want, no matter what you're driving, just bring it. Bring your kids, your wife, your husband, whatever it is you want to bring along with you, bring them along, and we'll grab a cup of coffee. It's raining inside of Midway, and there's chip shops and stuff, and there's an electric charge point down the road. They've moved it, so it's not Midway anymore, it's just down the road from it. So if you're driving an electric car, let me know if you're going to leave it there and you want to come back up. Someone will come down and get you. Bob, which is Bon, but I forgive you because I know B and N are right beside each other on the keyboard. Any idea why there are no diesel PHEVs? Diesel is very hard to do stop-start with. There's a good reason. Peugeot did one for a bit. The Diesel Hybrid 4 it was called, and it did in the 3008, and it was very good. The problem is, when diesel's not on, it cools down. And when you put a particulate filter underneath the engine chassis gearbox thing, it never gets a chance to get very hot if it doesn't work properly. So it can be very unreliable, and it's also really expensive. Most petrol cars and diesel cars are separated by about $3,000. So to buy the petrol version of a diesel car is about $3,000 of a difference. So you can imagine if it's got an electric engine as well and a PHEV part, it becomes $6,000 or $8,000 of a difference. So it made the car look distortedly expensive, and that's a problem. That's why the diesel PHEV never took off. I do still see a good future for diesel. I just think this hatred that's on it right now, as if it's something really bad. You look at them clean diesels that are out right now, modern diesels that you're driving every day, they're not that dirty anymore, boys. They really aren't. It's not as bad as it was. Patrick Sullivan just gave some money there by Super Chat. You're very good, Patrick. Thank you very much. Hi, Bob. Looking forward to the 27th of October. Come on down. The price is right. There are rumours that VW will convert their R cars to an electric powertrain. Not a rumour. That will be confirmed very soon. I have spoken to a number of people in Volkswagen. They will have R electric cars. Although Audi has brought out an RS6 recently with running on diesel, and it's crap according to everybody who's driven it. So we'll see if that pans out, because if that doesn't pan out, then we're not going to get the R's in electric, really. We'll get some sort of a version of it. But then I've driven the Golf. What's the Golf electric one? Not full electric one. The one that was hybrid powered. Anyway, whatever that was good. Trevor, do the back doors on the Model X stick out further or less than a normal door fully open? Less. Now, they need a bit room above, but when they're actually folded open, they don't stick out at all. They're the same width as the side of the car. But you do need to, well, you don't need to be conscious of it. The car is conscious of it. The car can open. If you stand beside the door, it'll just open around you. It just is this kind of a cool moving thing. I've seen a lot of people complain about how fast the doors open. They open fast for me. I wasn't waiting any longer for them than I would be waiting for any door, to be honest with you. And it's just a cool thing. When it happens in front of you, it's an amazing, stupidly amazing thing to watch. Everybody turns up. And I did a little dance thing outside of my kids' creche. It's creche, but where the kids go for a bit of childminding after school. I did a little dance thing outside, and all the kids came out and everybody cheered at the end. It was funny. And that was the thing. In case you're wondering, yesterday, I put out a tweet yesterday where I was complaining to YouTube, Tesla, and Elon Musk that the dance, this Christmas dance yoke, the music is copyright. WMG. How the hell did that happen? Copyright. They claimed the whole bloody video because of the music that was playing while I was dancing. So I had to replace the music and re-upload from scratch. What a waste of 5 gigabytes of my data that was. Anyway, Jeffrey Rogg. EVs should be leased, not sold. The technology will certainly change in the short term, and the present EVs will be obsolete, otherwise keep the diesel. Jeffrey has a brilliant point right there. That is something you should definitely investigate. I'm catching up on some of your questions now, you'll notice as well. I'm up to 257, so I'm doing well. But Jeffrey is dead right. The majority of what you do in electric cars should be really leased. And the reason behind that is because at some point you'll be able to give it back. You know, if the range is getting better and better, you just go, well, I want to end the lease on this little short range car and get a longer range car. But at the same time, you never know how much the car is going to end up costing you. And that, I think, might be a problem as well. At some point, that car is costing you a lot of money, you know, in lease, and you're never going to own the thing. It's dead money. It's gone out the door, and you're never going to see it again, which is a kind of an oddball situation to be in as well for car lease, unless you're able to lease it at a really, really good rate. So there's no harm to try and do it if you want to investigate it, but do your long-term calculations. How much is the car to lease over 6-7 years? Because that's the price of your lease is actually going to be. Carlos Thing, I don't know it's your name there, says, I love Monday. Good job, it's Sunday then, huh? That's good, because then you can save your love up until tomorrow and you'd be very happy loving your Monday on Monday. Paul 85 says, fuel I think is already around 2/3 tax. Yes, give or take. It's it is. It's kind of getting around that point, all right, where it'd be up around there. Particularly on diesel, there's more taxes in diesel than there is in petrol a little bit, even though petrol is more expensive. But there is, it's about 2/3 tax, and it kind of creeps along that way. You pay an awful lot directly to the government. That's why the little petrol station in your local town is gone. If you live anywhere outside of Dublin, even in Dublin, if you live anywhere that isn't on a main road, chances are you can't find a petrol station, or the petrol station you have is serving brown food. That's another thought I had. Someone suggested me I should do a review video on petrol station food, so I might do that as well. But yes, when you go to a petrol station these days, they no longer just serve petrol. You don't see any petrol stations or little just serving petrol stations in small villages anymore. They're all moving into service stations now, into these ultra big market things where people go, like the Barack Obama Plaza, which is an embarrassing name, quite frankly, but there is a place called Barack Obama Plaza down in Moneygall. That's a service station, so it has a Supermax in it, and it has an Apple Green in it, and it has a Burger King or something. It has these kind of things in it. It's to kind of get you used to sitting around waiting for your car to charge as well, besides getting petrol and diesel. But now it's nearly the only place to get petrol and diesel, and it's becoming that because there's so much tax in petrol, it's impossible to make any money at it. As a petrol station on its own, in the back end of nowhere, just serving petrol and diesel, not doing food, not doing anything, just a small little shop you buy your cigarettes and newspaper in, there's no money in it. The insurance is too high, the amount of petrol served generally every day isn't very much, so there's just an awful lot to go, Still waiting for a video review on your Leon. I'll review it when I'm going to sell it. That's probably the best way to do it, because my wife likes to drive around. She drives the Leon every day. I don't really drive it that much, but I mind it. I take care of it, but it needs a few bits done to it. It was in a little ding. It needs a little bit of damage repair in the front, but besides that, my wife likes to be able to drive around that car kind of anonymously, so nobody will be bothering her, because I think if I made a video review of it, people would start to pay attention to it, so I'll leave it alone, and just let it, when I'm selling it, I might sell it. Make me an offer I can't refuse. How about that? And I'll see if I can sell it then. Annie McAfee says, Nissan 370Z to say Leon 1.6 petrol expenditure pop. Yeah, well, sorry, one of my first, believe it or not, one of my very first press cars on this channel was a Nissan 370Z. Kind of weird. At the very beginning, my first press car, I'm not sure it was, but I think it was actually a Renault, it's not a Spas. What's a smaller one? Smaller than a Spas. 7 seats though. Anyway, that big thing. It's one of the first videos. The first video I ever did was actually on a Nissan Leaf. The launch the Nissan Leaf had in Ireland. And a woman had won a competition to win the Nissan Leaf for a year. And I had a crap DV camera. DV is an old tape camera. Little tiny tapes, fits in a proper camera. Still has a camera upstairs and the tapes. And you record. I had a tripod. And I put up in the tripod. And I went along to the event in Dublin on the Canal Dock. And I filmed it. And I put it up on YouTube. And Nissan gave me a free iPad for doing that. I still have the iPad here somewhere as well. I don't throw out anything. But that was the first video I ever made. That was copyright but copyright infringement, because in the background of the video, U2 was playing, because Nissan were playing it at the event. They were playing U2, A Beautiful Day or something was playing in the background. And so that never monetized in the first place. It was copyrighted U2. And I didn't know how to edit out the sound at the time. I'd never edited anything before, so I edited that and put it up, and there was loads of others. And then I got a Renault, then I got another Renault, and I got some Fiats, and then the next one after that was Nissan. And Nissan gave me the very first press card they ever gave me was a Nissan 370Z, of which I made a big video out of. It's still on the channel, I think, somewhere. That was a great car, stupidly good, actually, in fairness. Where are we? Right, Costasis Fantasticus, nice. We had the same kind of tax as VRT in Romania. We started suing the government as the tax was illegal. Everyone won. Finally, they abolished it. Sue the government for VRT. That's an interesting thing. It is. Now, we've had a couple of court cases going to the EU union thing about VRT, and I think that's why they changed the VRT. But essentially, it hasn't made them any more money or any less money. It's just broke even. It just kind of changed how it works. So instead of just VRT in the whole car, they VRT each individual option. And to give an example of how VRT can actually change the car sale here in Ireland, when I was testing a Volkswagen overseas, they made a big deal about the car having active safety systems and would stop you in traffic, and had a camera that was monitoring the road in front of you and stuff, and it would stop you dead. When the car finally came out in Ireland, that wasn't on it. That was an optional extra rather than being a standard. And the reason behind that was to lower the price here, because VRT, that would have happened, VRT would have driven the price up in the car. So we actually lose some safety equipment here. And if you look at some of the car brands, and you look at Volvo and you realise the Volvo looks really expensive versus a Volkswagen, it's because Volvo has a pile of safety equipment in it that Volkswagen doesn't, but you can't see the safety equipment. It's not an option that you're ticking, it's just there. Mazda's the same. Mazda's really highly safety equipment. They're really high up on that chart, so they tend to put a lot of cars, but it also makes the car look really expensive because the tax goes up on it every single time. Paul85 says, how do you feel about vehicle wrap to change the colour as a protective cover? Also noted lately, new Defender apparently has a wrap on them. Yeah, wraps are good. The problem with wrap is a lot of people attempt to do it themselves. It's actually hard. I've done it on cars. I've done it in small sections. I've wrapped bonnets and stuff. It does require a clean room, at least a very bloody tidy room, and preferably least amount of dust, no breeze, indoors, that sort of stuff. Because even if a speck of dust gets on the paintwork, between the paintwork and the wrap, you will see that little bump, that little horrendous, it's not perfectly flat bump. So it's an expensive thing, or seems expensive at first, but in actual fact, it's basically, over its lifespan, if you mind it, free, because you just wash it down with some water and any kind of soap. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to polish it, you don't have to do anything with it. It's just there. It's just there, and it's lovely. Now, getting it back off can be as hard, and if it's not put on properly, you can end up doing damage to the paintwork underneath, as the sealant and kind of stickiness on one side of it can actually do a small bit of harm to the polish underneath. But you will find a lot of businesses, they buy a caddy, it's white, and they wrap it in whatever the business is. Don't go wild, don't go too mad, but you can wrap it in a very stylish wrap, and then at the end of the life of the vehicle, when you get rid of it, the wrap just comes off. There's no paint, signage to scrape off. You don't get unpussed kind of stuck into the side of the vehicle, or Royal Mail where you can see the outline of a sticker. You don't get any of that with a wrap. It's on the wrap, it's printed out, and fits over the van perfectly. So wraps are good for the personal use. Not so sure. I've seen many people wrap the front of their car or the front edge of their bonnet so they don't get any stone chips. You can actually see a kind of a line on the top where it's just there for the stone chip part. That could be good. That way I was kind of interested. iPad Kid says, yes, I did that report on RTE in Japan. I did. Are you the Indo? Are you on the Indo? No, I read that on the Indo this morning, which is the first time I saw it. Only because it popped up in my wonderful, now sweet and shiny Google News, which is on my thing, which comes up with The Guardian for some reason. I don't know why that is. But it comes up with news stories and stuff that's on it as well, which is quite good. Hot air ballooning is supposed to be on today, but it's not, obviously. I'm just reading through everything else, which I've missed anybody, because some people send me things on PayPal and stuff and I don't see it straight away. Operator Hoot says, does that Apple Green have an EV charger? Now, there was an EV charger in Midway at one point. They moved it to build the Apple Green. I'm hoping that they're going to put that Midway charger back where it was, because it was actually quite useful there. Because you go and get a nice cup of coffee and relax and stuff. Where it is now, it's gone outside of the ESB headquarters further down the town. There's nothing in that area. Joe Mallon's is across the road. It's a Renault dealership, and around the back of it there's like Aldi and Lidl and stuff, but there's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go up there, so you kind of charge your car to sit in it like an idiot and charge it. If someone doesn't come in and press the emergency stop button and unplug you like they did to me when I was charging an Audi e-tron gits, but no, at the moment there's no charger at that Apple Green, but I would believe they had plans to put the charger back where it was. Golf GTE, correct, Andy McAfee. 10 out of 10 for you, boy. Get to the top of the class. Golf GTE is the one with the electric charger or electric hybrid thing that's in Golf. It was very good, lovely, powerful car. Really enjoyed that car. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. Now that the ID3 is coming, I think to get rid of that. They'll keep the Golf going, limping along for a while, but I think because of the lack of diesel, because people just don't want diesel, or because there seems to be a shift towards diesel hatred, it's like ostracising diesel. I'm sure it feels terrible, but I still quite like diesels, so I like a diesel. Diesels are good. They're good. They're powerful. They tow well. You can tow 3-4 ton on an ordinary car because of its diesel. It's just a lot to do with diesel. A lot of the stuff that needs to be replaced before we can really go forward that diesel thing. I'm still not convinced that electric cars are going to be the magic bullet solution that the way people are talking about them now. I just don't think they're a magic bullet for everybody. I think they'll work for some. I think if you've got plenty of money, you've nothing else to spend it on, an electric car right now is a good idea. But as a sensible move, unless you're buying at the very top end of the market, and I mean brand new Kia Soul, Kia Niro, one of the new Peugeots that are coming with it, unless you're buying at that point in the market, I think you're buying a lemon if you're buying the older ones, because they were bought by EV people who don't know how to drive or service or mind them or do anything. They just bought them because they were cheap. And they can have free fuel, which you can still have in Ireland. Technically, you still have free fuel, but we'll see how long that lasts. You watch ESB coming out with some charges. I was going to mention as well, what I think is coming with the EV chargers with ESB, what I hear rumours of the inside, is a monthly fee to be able to charge on the street, anything up to like 20 quid a month. So you'd have a certain amount of free charges on the street for that money, and then you have to pay for the rest of them. And it'll be clicked into your card, and then you'll have one the same as I honestly do currently, where you rock up to any fast charge, you put in 8 quid and you just charge your car full, and it costs 8 quid. But I think the on street, the standard kind of slow 22 kilowatt or even less than that on some of the older ones, those ones are going to be a monthly fee. I think I could be wrong. They may change their mind at the last minute, but that was the last information I got out of that lot, was that, right? Not great information known lately. Marty O also had a good 30-minute spin in the new Kia Exceed 1.4 TSI Auto. Great, that's a great little engine, that car. Really impressed with it. If they made it electric, it would be brilliant. But they do have electric. See, I know the Exceed, but they do have the Kia Soul, e-Soul, and they have the e-Niro, so they don't necessarily need a Ceed electric. I don't know if they're going to make it Ceed, but that 1.4 TSI is a lovely engine coupled to that auto. I drove that over in Marbella. Stay out of Marbella City. No, not Marbella. What was it called? Somewhere in France, southern France. Not terrible. It's gone out of my mind. Anyway, wherever the Exceed launch was on, and I met the girl on Swiss roads and all that at that one. Great little driving roads around the edge. There are lovely beaches and things around the place, but it is basically you're in kind of northern Africa. It's cool. Oh, you know what I seen last night as well? Actually, movie review. Let's have a movie review in the middle of all of this, huh? John Wick 3, Parabellum it's called, and it's crap. I absolutely adore John Wick. I was watching John Wick, the first one, before anyone was really talking about it. It was just kind of one of those movies that you kind of go, oh, I never heard of this John Wick, but Keanu Reeves in it, so it should be okay. And I watched it, it was brilliant. Part 2 was brilliant. Part 3 is rubbish. And I think there's going to be a part 4. Part 3 is like a video game. It's terrible. It's like you're starting in the middle of the action, and then it's this constant punch up, this unrealistic, stupid sort of punch up the whole time in it. But one interesting little fact in it is bits of it in Morocco were filmed in Essaouira. And that is where the launch of the Ford Ranger Raptor was on, and myself and John Mitchell walked down the exact same street as is used in the movie John Wick 3. So I just noticed that as I was sitting there going, that's Essaouira, I was there, I was at that thing, I remember that building, and I went through all my little photographs and I could see the buildings and everything in it. So it was kind of cool to see it come back up in a John Wick movie. But the movie itself is actually a bit rubbish. Well, I think it was. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need another look at it. But I thought last I was pretty bored by the whole thing. There just seemed to be this endless fight in it. And not a clever fight, not a fight that you ever thought John Wick was going to lose, which you always thought he's outnumbered, he's in trouble here. But in part 3 it was like, yeah, he's outnumbered, but sure, he'll kill everybody. It's just the way it is. And it's a bit gory in places too, that's alright. Annie McPhee says service station food tends to be overpriced but okay to low quality outside of the big chain brand. Sitting inside Germany though, wow, the service station food is amazing. Yep. What I find the service station food in Italy is rubbish. You'd be shot for using a Burger King in Italy. In fairness, they don't like them. They don't eat them. Nobody eats them. Just tourists. In Germany, it's very good. Service stations tend to have restaurants in them, actual ones you go to, like Airbrow and those kind of ones. Now, not Airbrow, but if you've ever been to Munich Airport or Frankfurt Airport, you'll find this thing called Airbrow, which is really good food and really good beer. It's like a proper German restaurant, and all of the staff are mature men and women, all mature, all in their 40s and 50s, every one of them. They favour that kind of, it's the law there. They have to give them a job if they apply. But in Ireland, it's staffed by 10-year-olds. I know it's not. It's staffed by 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, or older generation, people who are just there to mark up the numbers. And the food is brown. It's pastries, it's pies, it's sausage rolls, it's chicken breasts, if you could call that chicken, plain or spicy on the spicy roll stuff, or rats, like in Applegreen, climbing out of a pan of Brennan's bread. That's pretty much what you seem to get a lot of in Ireland. I tend to stay out of them as much as I can. I try to eat at home whenever I can. We always try and cook our food here, but we do eat out sometimes, but very rarely. Very rarely. The last time we ate in a restaurant, I don't remember. I think it was in Galway a few weeks back. Maybe. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was in Waterford. In Waterford the other day, I actually tweeted a picture. Oh, no, I didn't tweet a picture of it. But I was in Waterford the other day, and I ate in this lovely little restaurant, and I have to find the name of it because I have to give them a shout out. Didn't get anything free. It was just really good little place. Oh, a convenient bit as well is when you change over your phone, if you've been saving your stuff up on Google Photographs, all your photographs stay the same. Bursa, B-U-R-Z-Z-A. That was the name of the place in Waterford the other day. B-U-R-Z-Z-A. Very nice. Thank you very much. It was lovely food. We had our lunch there on a day out, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, James Marnane says, I have visited the Barack Obama Plaza and the likes, and you get a good carvery lunch there. Yep, you do. Carvery lunch is a weird thing that kind of bothers me. Irish people sometimes have dinner in the middle of the day, and I mean dinner like as in meat and two veg in the middle of for lunch, and then go home and have meat and two veg for dinner as well. It's called carvery lunch. Sometimes it's quite nice. We tend to cook a lot at home here in the house. My wife has made soup this morning. It's coming into a kind of late autumn. So we've made soup and things as well. So we tend to eat a hell of a lot of food here in the house and cook all the time here at home. So eating out to us has to be really good because the food we cook at home is really good. So if the food is not better than I can cook at home, I don't like it. That's pretty straightforward. But yeah, Barack Obama Plaza is fine. It's just an embarrassing name. Simple as that. Scenic, Andy McPhee. Yes, it is that. You're right, Andy. Andy's brilliant at thinking ahead of me. He thinks ahead of me. I'm not too sure how he does this, but he does. And you better come along to this meetup. I'm telling you, he missed two of them so far. You better come along to the next one. You owed your wages anyway for being an administrator. But besides that, the Renault Scenic was one of the first press cars I ever received from any car company at the time. And I've since, I think I've fallen out with Renault ever since. Mainly because, well, I'm not one of the favourite boys. I don't get an invite to all the international launches. I don't get on the late show, like they invite a certain amount of journalists every once in a while to the late show, like as a bonus. And I don't get, there's lots of things I don't get that Renault try to give out all the time, which is okay. That's up to themselves. That's up to the journalists themselves as well. But I find those same journalists who take events like that and go along to things like that and go to what's that called? That new all the journalists of the country seem to be there one weekend in it's up in Louth or somewhere, an adventure park, Centre Parks. All those journalists up there that went that weekend will be the very first ones to say that influencers are crap, and yet they'll take all those free trips and write about them in their newspapers. Just like, pot, kettle, that kind of thing. I'm not an influencer, so I don't really care one way or the other. But if you're going to be a journalist, be a journalist, Actually tell people what it's like to be in Centre Parks and why is it so expensive. Anyway, James Barnett says they had an offer for a salad with a garlic bread and a drink for €8. A salad and a garlic bread and a drink for €8. Right, I could make that for probably $1.50, I'd say, at home. So just, if you have plenty of money, eating out is very easy to do. But if you tap your card, tap thing all the time, people go around. And I watched a man do it the other day in a bakery. He bought a couple of loaves of bread and 2 coffees or something. It came to $16.50 and he just tapped the card. He didn't even think about it. He wouldn't even say how much it was. She just said, do you want to tap? And he goes, yeah. And he tapped. And then she printed the receipt and he put the receipt in his pocket. And brazenness, I didn't know whether he knew me or whatever. I turned to him and I said, do you know how much that was? And he goes, no, I couldn't tell you. This madness, this craziness of spending $16.50 but not actually knowing how much you just spent a second ago because you tapped your card is insane. And I mean, that's like a mental illness, because you, at some point in the future, you're going to tap your card that's going to get rejected, or you'll look at your bank statement and you'll be in the red by a long way. The bank will let that happen. They make money on this. Just be aware that money makes people commit suicide. It's a lack of it. It's a thing we don't talk about. It's a thing we don't understand. But it really is that pressure of having money or not having money, or how much was in the bank, and I paid a mortgage, all this stressy stuff. So be aware of what you're spending on. A coffee these days can cost €3.50, €4. It's crazy amount of money. I can make a pot of coffee here for cents, literally cents, and get really high quality coffee and make it here for a couple of cents. I know a couple of petrol station owners who told me in the past that they make €250,000 a year from coffee. One coffee machine. So if you're spending £8-9 on a salad and garlic bread and a drink, it sounds like good value, but if you could make that at home, I could buy all those ingredients, make it right here in the house and serve it up, and it'd be absolutely gorgeous. I can make it for, I'd say, £1.50 or £2. Anyway, I cannot pronounce your name is the next one down at 3:18 p.m. I'm terribly sorry. Anyway, Toyota is sleeping in EV cars race. Oh, I know what you mean. So they're not entering the EV cars, right? Yeah, so they're concentrating incredibly hard on hybrids and on hydrogen is the two things that they're after. They are pushing the hydrogen thing in the background. I have no doubt that Toyota will cop on. But you have to understand the company mentality. Toyota is like Suzuki, a conservative Japanese company. They make conservative moves. They move slowly, deliberately, and often so slowly that dealers go wild because they're losing sales. But in actual fact, if you look at the sales chart, Toyota's still hovering around the top of it, right? And I have a Corolla Estate outside the door right now. It's my press car this weekend. It's a brilliant car, and I would actually spend my own money on it. But the doubt seeps into your mind of, what about electric? Why don't I buy an electric car? In actual fact, that Toyota Corolla makes an awful lot of sense. I get 4.3 litres per 100 kilometres out of it. It's an estate, tons of room. It's fairly well equipped. Yes, it lacks Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. They're coming next year. I don't know if that's retrofitted to your car next year, but it's coming next year. But still, the car makes an awful lot of sense. It's still a lovely car out there. So maybe Toyota's being deliberately slow because they don't see a very long-term future investment-wise in having sole BEV engines. Who knows? James Barnane says Toyota are big into hybrids at the minute. Bought a Corolla hybrid over 6 months ago. See, my point is made right there. Toyota's still hanging around the top of the sales chart, and everything in Toyota at the moment, when you get in, you realise this thing is just going to last for 30 years. It just is. It's just so well built these days. Such good high quality interiors, high quality. The only lack really on not having the latest sort of tech of Android Auto and stuff in it, but the rest is pretty good. That's not to say I'm singing the praise of Toyota. Toyota don't particularly treat journalists terribly well. They don't have launches or even Irish launches. Kind of, they release the car, and then when they think of you, they give you an email saying about the car. So it's not like they owe me anything or I owe them anything, but they're making very, very good cars at the moment, even if they're not BEVs. Battery electric vehicles, by the way, that means. I can't pronounce that at all. Can you not just pick usernames I can actually pronounce, right? Anyway, great car reviews, Bob. Love the Audi A6 review. Bought an Avant Quattro diesel. Good man, you're buying the right one. Hoping diesel not defunct until a few years after my PCP ends. It won't. Diesel will be around for 10. Look, you've got a market of diesel. So if you look at what's called the car park of Ireland. So the car park is how many cars already exist. Not future sales, not what's coming in the market. What's already sitting in car parks outside your front door in a car park out the road. About 85 to 90% of what's actually on the road today is diesel. Now, you can't just flip a switch like they're trying to do in the UK and replace all of those electric cars in 5 years or even 10 years. It just isn't going to happen. It's not possible. We cannot manufacture enough electric cars to cover that, and we can't recycle that fast either. So we can't just take those cars off the road and go, nah, they're just gone. I'll just scrap the lot. And I firmly believe a scrappage scheme is the last thing we need at the moment. Do not, dealerships, for God's sake, SIMI, do not go down the route of a scrappage scheme. It has proven itself to be disastrous for car sales over time. Last time we did scrappage scheme, you all made a pile of money. Great. Now look at us. Now look at where we are. Now we now have to import all these used cars again. Now dealerships are importing cars from the UK, left, right and centre. 40-foot trucks are coming down. I've been saying this for months and years even. 40-foot trucks are coming down the M1 the whole time from Belfast. We are important at a great, and that's because scrappage. We have scrapped so many great cars out there that have just been scrapped and thrown in the bin and recycled. They're gone, and now we don't have a used car market again. You're importing them all over again. So another scrappage scheme would murder us completely. So be careful of that. But diesel's going nowhere at the moment. Herbenurster. You bought the right car though. Avant Quattro diesel A6. If it's an Avant, you're bang on. Exactly the right car. You made all of the right decisions. It will go nowhere. 10 years time, when your car is long gone, you trade it in for something else, then you'll have to worry about your diesel going somewhere. Adon, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Adon, it's an Irish name, I know, of Reardon. What kind of phone do you have now, Bob? I have two phones at the moment. I have an iPhone 6, which had just came up. I bought that second hand actually here in Portlaoise. I might sell it now that I don't need it as much as I thought I was going to need it, but I might sell that one again. It's in immaculate condition. I put a little blue cover on it. Immaculate iPhone 7. The only thing you lose on an iPhone 7 is the headphone jack. That's it. That's the only thing I could find that was different. The camera's way better than the iPhone 6. Not way better, but it's better than the iPhone 6. And I'm currently transitioning to a Xiaomi Mi A3, which is this one here, which is an Android phone. And I don't like Google Android. I'm sorry, lads. I know you all might kill me now, but Google Android is definitely not as good as Apple CarPlay. That just might be me, mind you. I'm finicky like that. Might take me a little while to get used to it, but see what happens. There's so many people watching. This has been such a busy day again. Have you nothing else to do? You're sitting inside in the rain, you're waiting for your Formula 1 to start, whatever it is. Anyway, it's great to have you though, so hit the subscribe button. If you can support the channel, the way to support it is of course subscribe. Clicking the bell icon, asking questions on the live stream. That's how you support the channel. Even if you never asked a question before, ask one today. It's always good. You can support the channel other ways. If you want to do it financially, you can do it by PayPal, which many of you have done today. Thank you very much. You're all very kind. Through PayPal. You can do it through Super Chat while this stream is live. Super Chat is live. When it ends, you can't. But you can also do it through Patreon. If you want to do a small monthly donation, do Patreons, €1, €2, €10, whatever you want a month for a couple of months, or just a flat out fee straight to Patreon or PayPal. There are links for these things down below, or if you don't like using links, go to paypal.com and search for my email address, which is bobflav@thenextgear.com, which I do answer all of those emails. Just takes me a bit of time these days because there's so many emails. But anyway, it's grand. Hi Bob, when do you see the ID3 on sale here? What's the uptake on pre-orders and any ideas on price? The price would be very similar to the prices that are all announced right now, right? So Volkswagen said around 30 grand. That's exactly what Volkswagen Ireland will have to go for, because it has to be somewhere in an ass's roar of that price, because they're the announcer's price. Expecting basically the same prices of what Kia and Hyundai are doing, but Volkswagen are trying to undercut all of those, because they really want to make a big splash. You will definitely see it on the road by summer next year, maybe even a little bit earlier. I believe the launch maybe in March. I mean the launch, the press launch, where I'd be going around to drive the actual car. What I'm interested in is not driving some pre-prototype. I want to drive the final car. I want to see what it looks like, how well it's going to run, whether it's my kind of car, your kind of car. Will it work in Ireland? I'm sure it will. Volkswagen aren't stupid, lads. You may think that Volkswagen just kind of, and I know Dieselgate was created by them. I know this kind of diesel hatred thing came out of what they did to diesel over time, but they are, as far as I can see, trying to clean up their act. So if they clean it up properly, then Volkswagen will be done here. They did a second Dieselgate. They've done it again. The fix on the diesel was another cheat. But sure, anyway, who knows where that's going to end. But show your support to the right people if you want. From what I can see at the moment, if you're going to buy something this side of Christmas, it's going to have to be a Kia, I think, electric-wise. I would go for a Kia. There's not much else on the market that even compares to the range, but the price is still very high, It's Kia and Hyundai. Hyundai's cars are nice, but they're quite small. The Ioniq is lovely. This is a very nice car to drive, but I still prefer the Kia Soul. It's just a better splash, it's a nice thing. James Marnane. Diesel has got a bad name in the last couple of years, and I'm afraid of the future with climate change issues and carbon taxes. I'm not so sure about the climate change thing. I'm not a climate denier, don't get me wrong here, don't go wild. I'm not saying there's nothing happening with the climate. I'm just not so sure what we're looking out the window at and what's been reported to us is not just a weather pattern. That there's a bit of a frenzy being pushed along because the younger generation out there hasn't lived through other climates for a start. They're too young. At 20 or 25 years old, you've only had one climate since you were born, so you don't know what it's like before that. And plus they're very vocal, so people who are between 15 and 30 are very much online. They're very much on Twitter and Facebook and things, and they kind of whipping up a frenzy of like-minded individuals around the place. So I'm not sure whether that's really actually happening in the rate that they think it's happening. I remember Amazon being cleared, slashed and burned back in the 80s. Sting made songs about it in the 80s, like the Amazon, save the trees and all that sort of stuff in the Amazon. It's been going on since then. I think there's a bit of a push on now that we can do it faster is the problem. Right now they're able to clear out huge sections of the Amazon very quickly. And that's a problem. Of course it's a problem. But it doesn't mean the Amazon won't grow back. It doesn't mean the Amazon can put out maybe 10% of the entire world's oxygen, if even that. It's the ocean that we have to really mind. The amount of plastic in the ocean. Plastic is my big thing now. We've cut down on everything. We don't buy hand wash. We don't buy shower gel. We buy soap. We don't buy hand wash. We buy soap. We do buy washing up liquid, but we're currently investigating ways of making our own washing up liquid here. So we're trying to really cut away on any plastics. Don't want them recycled. We just don't want to buy them. Simple as that. So we're making those kind of changes. That's the kind of change you as an individual can make. I don't think you changing from a 2006 Seat Leon to a Hyundai electric is going to make a jot of difference to the overall CO2 emissions of a country. I don't think so. Tomorrow, the peat-fired, or as they call biomass-fired power station to the north of me here, out just outside Tullamore, is going to reopen and start using biomass again. So if you really want to make a change, that's the kind of change you need to make. Not cars, not necessarily transport. As an individual, the change you can make is stop using plastic and recycle everything that's possibly to recycle. If it can't be recycled, don't buy it. Look at the back of the packet, see the little recycling logo. If it says not currently recycled, put it back on the shelf and find something else that is. Stop buying things like that. Stop upgrading your phone every 10 seconds. I just did it, but I didn't upgrade. I actually bought cheaper. Make decisions that isn't necessarily having to make new things for you to do the whole time. So climate change is one way, but I'm not sure it's happening at the rate or the speed that people think it's happening at. I think I've lived through weirder weather than this in my lifetime, and I'm ancient, so I remember a long time ago. Anyway, the iPad kid says, no Bob, I'm not at the Independent, I'm studying at Dungarvan College at the moment. Good man, well done, that's good. Are you going to get a job as a journalist? Because all jobs are running out very rapidly. Won't be many of them left soon. You jump forward to me again, how dare you big thing. I'm still going back. Hold on, catching up with you. Here we go. Right, Annie McAfee says, I'll mention it again as a movie to watch right up the street. Flash of Genius. Get searching for a trailer. I will certainly check that out for tonight, for our movie night tonight. I tend to watch a movie. If I don't watch something on YouTube, I'll watch a movie. I don't particularly watch television. I certainly don't watch RTE in the evening times. Very, very few shows get me any way interested in RTE. I'm not into fixing houses. I think that's just comedy hour. It's a waste of money. Or this upgrading. There's so much of that content is just a copy of something you get from the UK. I do watch Grand Designs, which is made by Channel 4. It's been around for years. We've watched that forever because it's something really unique, something really interesting. And it's more about the design of the house and we have a narrator rather than a personality like Dermot, whatever his name is, Gavin, or I don't know, whatever that guy's name is on RT. It's crap. Most of it's just bum fluff television is what I call it. Nothing really to get your teeth into. Some individuals. There's no car show on RT of any kind, and even when they do one, it's rubbish. It's rubbish. It's just paid for by the advertisers. So what's left? So I watch YouTube and I watch a movie, and that's pretty much the limit of what I watch. And YouTube channels, I don't watch car reviews. Don't, because I hate watching. If I watch Matt Watson review a car that I haven't driven yet, I'll only think like Matt Watson. I sit in the car and go, Matt Watson said this seat was bigger. It's terrible. I'm completely jaded by it, so I don't really watch them. I watch sailing channels and things about boats, or I watch things about diet, or being vegan or eating meat or whatever. I'm a meat eater, by the way. I'm not vegan. I tried it for a while. It was horrible. If you want to gain weight fast, if you want to become fat, eat more vegetables. That's vegetarian. I put on 5 kgs as a vegetarian. Anyway, that's just rubbish because it's mostly carbohydrates and it makes you fat in a flash. Martio says Kia Ceebas and Marseille. Yeah, Marseille, correct. Terrible city. Very rough. Very, very rough in places. Not a place I would necessarily advise you to go on holidays. South Marseille, down around the beach, was actually quite nice. It was lovely. Some nice hotels there. Places you could go. You felt safe. You could take those little electric scooter things, which are relatively cheap, but £6 an hour, I think, for scooters. They can add up fairly fast. But the city itself it felt very rough. I felt Marseille felt very, very edgy, very weird. A bit like the kind of back end of Frankfurt. Frankfurt, in the back side of Frankfurt, can feel quite rough as well. Not the main city, but around the edges of it can feel very rough. James Marnain says, I was talking to VW people at the ploughing and they indicate it'll be next year before ID3 range of cars will be out. Yes, it will. It'll be 2020. Before summer, you'll start seeing them in the dealerships. I'm sure there'll be one going around that you can drive in a dealership yourself. Press cars, I reckon, for my test, will be somewhere maybe between March, April and May, somewhere in that 3-month period there. I reckon those cars start to be delivered if all things go well in Volkswagen and they're not scared shitless by the Frankfurt Motor Show, which is totally possible. Didn't get a great reception in Frankfurt Motor Show, in fairness. Not incredibly, not the way they thought it was going. It wasn't exactly a game changer or a life altering experience watching this ID3. It amounted to being sort of a Golf effect. It was just like, wow, well, the Golf is nicer looking. Waters petrol station in Castleblaney do good food. Never been there, Dermot Walsh, but I'd like to. Waters petrol station in Castleblaney. I can't remember if I've ever actually been in Castleblaney, now that I think of it. So many cool places you can visit in Ireland that I don't know. That just this last couple of years with the kids on days out and stuff, we go and visit like Waterford or Galway or Kerry and places in Kerry and stuff. Some gorgeous places to go. iPad Kid says same with food in my house. We eat an awful lot of food here in the house. We don't eat out a lot, very rarely. I don't bring sandwiches and stuff with me when I'm out. I just try not to eat. That's basically what it comes down to. I'm well overweight. I need to lose weight. I want to talk to a personal trainer person about maybe making a series of videos. I want to bring back the run gear, which is something I used to do with Paddy Common, and I want to bring that back in my own way so I can make videos about fitness as well, but not on this channel. So I'm looking to talk to maybe a personal trainer here in Portlaoise again about getting fit and doing something for men who are 40 to 50 years old, in that range, because I think men, when they get to 50, I can only speak for men, women. I'm sorry if you're a woman who listens to this, and I'm talking on behalf of men. I am a man, so I can only really talk about that. When a man reaches 50 or 40, I think a brain click happens and you either go, I'm going to get fit and I'm going to become an ultra marathon runner and run for millions of miles and do cycling and do everything, or the opposite happens. It's just like, I'm going to become a couch potato and just watch television. And it's that fitness point where people make a big decision in their life, and I'd love to kind of deal with that. We did when we did the Run Gear first. It became a nationwide thing. We were huge upturn in it, but it just became something that was huge that I couldn't keep up. Now I think I have space for it, so I wouldn't mind talking to a personal trainer. So the people I'm looking for is a personal trainer around Portlaoise, and I'm also looking for a camera person who can edit around Portlaoise as well, to talk about making videos and making money. It is a paid position, by the way. Andy McAfee says, I've already looked ahead at my rota and I'm currently not booked into work on the 27th of October. I'm still up in the air about the Dragons Green Superb in England. If I get it, I will definitely take it down. You buy it if you want to. It's up to you. I'm not going to make a decision for you, but I said it's a good car. And GPay, Google Pay, is very handy on phone as the alternative to Apple Pay. Need near field communication. I don't use GPay, Apple Pay, none of those things. I use good, hard-earned cash. That's how I operate, as much as I possibly can. So I know how much in my pocket, and I know how much I'm buying, I know how much I'm spending, how much I've left. That's it. That's all I want to know. They never go wrong. Eating at home is much cheaper. Agreed, says James Moran. You're absolutely right. It is vastly cheaper than eating out. And I don't mean in a small way. I mean a chasm of a difference in price between eating out and eating at home. Once you get good at cooking at home, you stop eating out, because your food you cook at home is better by a long way than the stuff you get out. Some restaurants are brilliant, but you do pay an awful lot of money for that brilliance. So the better the restaurant, or the better the quality of food in the restaurant, the more you're going to pay. Adon says, what do you think of the Skoda Kodiaq style? I love the Kodiaq. I think the Kodiaq is one of the best cars that Skoda make, apart from the Octavia and the Superb and things. They're in there as well, but the Kodiaq is one of the best cars that they've made in years. I'd love to see them do more with it. I think Diesel's going to hold it back. I think it was a great car when it was designed 5 years ago, and I had it with a diesel engine. It was ready to go, and now Diesel's like, oh my god, let's get rid of all these SUVs. We need electric ones everywhere as fast as possible. That's the way they operate, unfortunately. But it's a great car. What time are we at now? I'm answering questions at 3:38 or somewhere around there. I'll catch up on these though. We got a few minutes left. We're okay. Herb listener says 2019 A6 Avant Black Edition Quattro, Bob, 204 brake horsepower. You ticked all the right boxes. I know a guy who is overclocked. When I say overclocked, that's a computer speak, but they've chipped that engine from 204 horsepower to 274, 284, somewhere around there. So you can get a lot more performance from that car if you want to. You can get it chipped. Talk to someone who's got a chip before, or someone who's very used to chipping. But I know a guy who's done that. I know a guy. Noel Davison says, Bob, here's some food for thought for you and the viewers to discuss. I missed the next bit of that. Hang on, my daughter is learning to drive. I'm saying it's okay to learn and test in an auto transmission, as within 10 years there'll be no manual gearboxes as we move to EVs, etc. What do you think? You're right. Yes, you are right, for sure. Now, there is a flip side of that. If you're in Ireland, and I suspect Davidson would suggest to me that you're probably a UK viewer. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're living in Ireland. Maybe your name is from over here. So assuming you're in Ireland, I can tell you straight off that if she takes the test in an automatic, she is only licensed to drive automatic. She cannot change to manual at any point without taking the test again. If you take the test in a manual car, you can drive a manual or an automatic for the rest of your life without taking any more tests. Now, that might not apply in the UK, but it certainly does apply here. Now, at the same time, you're absolutely positively right. Even with the advent of DSG and automatics, automatic sales have risen in Ireland considerably. There was a time when an automatic just did not sell, and I'm talking about less than 1% of sales in Ireland were automatic. That's because automatics were crap and really hard to work on. And if third gear broke in automatic, the gearbox was gone. You may forget it. You're going to have to replace the whole thing. You can't just replace one gear. Whereas manuals, if something happens, you could replace 3 or 2 or whatever. But at the same time, right now we're in a situation where there are no gearboxes in electric cars. It doesn't necessarily have a gearbox in a traditional sense. It's a drive shaft connected directly to the engine, basically, and it spins faster to go faster, and that's pretty much it. So there's no need for a gearbox. So you can have a button that presses for D, or you can have a switch, or you can have a handle that you pull, or whatever it is, but effectively there's no gearbox. So, but just bear in mind that she will never be able to drive a manual car of any kind. So if you're rich enough to be able to buy her a brand new automatic car, that's fine, or you're rich enough to buy her a used automatic car, that's fine. But if you're poor, like the majority of people out there, and they're buying their child a car, or the child wants to buy a car themselves, the cheapest car is going to be a manual car, not an automatic. Just bear that in mind. Andy McPhee says, I tried Android Auto in the A4 I got last year once, then never again, and never would need to, as an OCD aggravated cable floating about a new proper Flintstones tech being wired now, Wi-Fi DC. Android Auto does look old-fashioned compared to Apple CarPlay, but I think that's because Google is not driving Android Auto. They're not the ones behind that. It's MirrorLink and all those guys that are behind Android Auto, so it looks a bit out of place in its own little way. I have about 1,800 emails myself today, as I don't feel so bad about. That's a true iPad kid. I don't answer all the emails, generally speaking, but I try to answer everything, because most of them are legitimate questions. Sometimes I can't get at everybody, because some people continue to ask me the same questions when I've answered them, or to come at me. Like I get a lot. There's a video I made of how to sit properly in a car, as taught to me by various race drivers and driving instructors. So you fitting your hand above your head and putting, hands on the steering wheel and stuff. And I continually get emails about that one video. But most of those emails are the same question over and over again. So I don't answer them. I can't answer them. I just don't have time to answer them all. So sometimes I can't answer everything. I missed a bit there. Andy says a restricted license can cause issues when, like, hiring a car or any employment in the future may come along with a vehicle. That's true. If your daughter gets a job working and driving transit vans every day, can't drive them because they're not automatic. Ian Purcell, Bob, well done on cutting down on your plastic use. Absolutely, it's your best move you can make as an individual human being at home today is to use less plastic. That's the best answer I have for you. Forget about cutting your CO2 emissions. Forget about trying to change your car to electric car and spending 40, 50, 60,000 euros on a new electric car and think you're saving the planet in some way. Just stop using plastic and demand from your shop that they stop recycling it, that we stop buying it in, that they put pressure on their suppliers to find alternatives, paper, cardboard, any of that sort of stuff. What drives me bananas when you buy something that's wrapped in cardboard and inside that it's wrapped in plastic, so you can't see the plastic on the outside, it's on the inside. Drives me nuts. Anyway, yeah, Andy says bring back glass bottles. 100%. I used to make a fortune as a child. My dad would have large bottles, a large bottle of Guinness, glass, and the next door neighbour and a fella up the road. A fella up the road was basically an alcoholic, so I used to go and collect all his bottles as well. I didn't know what an alcoholic was. And he gathered them all together on a Thursday. You go to the pub, and the pub would count them all out, and he'd give you 5 pence per bottle. 5 pence. So I'd bring 10, 15, 20 bottles. I'd make a pound or two, and I would be in sweets for a week. That's how I used to operate. Always clever, always trying to hustle and do things to get money, and that's how it works. That's what I used to do back then. So if they brought that back, how good is that? Like, that's very straightforward. Bring back glass bottles and bring back the ability to be able to get money back off glass bottles. That's how it works. Is that a money point, Bob? Could be. Mark Hanson, I used to live outside Geishel. Do you know Brendan Dunn? Brendan Dunn. Why does that ring a bell? Brendan Dunn. Possibly. I think I know a couple of Brendan Dunns. But I know where Geishel is. Passed through it many times on the way to Tullamore from here. So yeah, I know Geishel, alright. Also know from Geishel, I know Mick Gagan. Do you know who Mick Gagan is? I used to work for Mick Gagan many years ago. Andy McAfee says, I highly recommend A Flash of Genius on a rainy Saturday Sunday night. I'm definitely after that. Media Tube. Hi Bob. Overwhelmingly emissions come from animal farming. I'm still not sure that's the answer either. Cars make very little difference as I'm worried about the environment impacts of battery power. To be honest with you, it's both. It's transport in general. So it's not just personal use cars. They outnumber most other stuff. It's transport. It's large trucks. It's large buses. It's trains. It's ships, it's airplanes, it's big large things that do a lot of that. Animal farming in Ireland really doesn't have the level of CO2 that you might think it has. We do a lot of grass-fed beef, we do a lot of cows that are outside. It's not an intensive industry here. We're world class across the globe. Irish beef is held at its highest, that it is the highest quality. Bodybuilders across the world kill themselves to get grass-fed beef from Ireland. Very high quality, and our butter industry is the same here as well. We make the best butter in the world. We have to protect that, and that's not to say that I'm going to sit here and protect farmers. I'm not a farmer. I'm not even remotely related to farmers. I know nothing about farming, but I also know that cars do more CO2 than farming in general. But they're both responsible for CO2 emissions, but neither of which can help you as an individual out there right now today. You can do nothing about either of those things unless you're a farmer, right? Or unless you're you have a fleet under your control of cars, because you changing your single car over the next 10 years isn't going to make a jot of difference to the CO2. What you need to make a difference to is plastic consumption, and you also need to make a difference to the way you consume things in general. So the amount of stuff you throw away, the amount of stuff you buy every day, the amount of packaging on individual things you're buying from China. When you walk into Eurogiant up the town there, yeah, one of those Eurogiants, look at all the plastics on the shelf that people are just buying all the time. These plastic balls and sand pit things and all this stuff that's all plastic, that's all made and disposed of in the bloody ocean. Not recycled, it's in the ocean. Go watch some sailing channels, go watch some stuff about the Caribbean and the beaches that are down there. I was in Morocco. I actually have a little bit of video from that. When we're in Morocco, we're driving around the back of the beach, and the Moroccans, the fishermen on the beach that we're trying to talk to, were beautiful men, lovely guys, offering me tea and little wizened faces on them, all probably younger than me, but battered faces from being outside. Fishermen working there all day had used the plastic to build little huts for themselves. And so I'm standing there looking at a bag for life from Tesco's that's now this guy's roof, part of his house. That's ridiculous. We can't allow that to happen. We can't consume that much stuff up here that someone's building a fucking house out of it in Morocco. That's how bad it is. Stop using plastic. Anyway, I'm hearing over 80% of ID3 taken as pre-order, going to be very difficult to get. Still think we need much superior infrastructure in Ireland for access to charging for EVs. I'm with Bob Diesel. Telling you, buy a used car right now, petrol or diesel. Try and be EU4 upwards, right? So just look at its level of CO2 that comes out of the bag. We don't want to be creating more problems, but at the same time, I would hang on. By the end of next year, we're going to have more of a settled idea of what the used car market and what the new car market will settle into. Right now, we all seem to be just running towards electrics, and it's creating an environment where it's not healthy for us to be buying diesels all the time, or buying electric cars all the time, because there's just not enough of them around. Still going, 404. I'm not going anywhere just yet. We're going to hang on and answer the rest of our questions here. Annie McPhee says, Kevin MacLeod is a legend on Grand Designs. Really well presented show with his own professional opinion and advance of slipping into half of the bills in the rear end in the end. Absolutely brilliant show. Grand Designs is something I've watched. I think I've watched every season since it started forever. I know they had their, 20th anniversary or something the other night, and I watched that as well. And they were showing like episode 1, episode 2 and all that. Brilliant. It's been a brilliant show over the year, because it really does show. They've been talking about the environmental impact of building since the start of that show. People have been broke and lives have been lost and people have been separated, everything, just to build these houses. It's a fascinating show, and all these copies that have sprung up over the years, including Irish television, make this kind of a comedy act. Yoke, I want to build an extension at the back of my house. How much is it going to €2,000? Stupid little shows that we put on over here instead of actually catering for something that's good in this country. I think RT is going to have a lot of redundancies over the next few months. I think we'll tell a lot. And I think they're top heavy. They have been top heavy for years. They've been paying their top presenters way too much, way over the odds for a country of its size, with an audience level that they have. Paying a fella €500,000 a year, it's just crazy. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Not my problem. I'm not the administrator in RT, and I probably won't be, because RT doesn't like the internet unless you have millions of followers, and then they like you. Anyway, Paul Hickey says, I was driving behind a 2001 Toyota Corolla yesterday and had to switch off the air in my car. Smell of fumes was sickening. That's actually excess fuel. So 2001 would mean that it has an automatic choke inside, but the choke hasn't been serviced properly over the years. So over that length of time, it started to fire. Unburnt fuel is now falling into the exhaust and getting shot out the back of it as a fume. It's an awful smell, I know it is, but it was the smell of the 80s is what that was. Now it just became the smell of old car. Alright, I'm going to fly through the rest of these. So I would love to do a radio DJ, but for classical music sometime in the future. You want to be a radio DJ? Don't wait for that one, man. Just start. Volunteer for any radio station you want. I work in radio. I've worked in Midlands. I've worked Midlands 103. I've worked in East Coast Radio. I've worked in RT1. I've worked in Network Radio 2. I've worked on UK channels. I've been on BBC Radio, BBC Radio 4, BBC Radio 3. I was on Six Music one day. I've worked in millions of them. The only way to do it is just do it. Don't train for it. Just start volunteering. Get into the swing of things. Start getting a little gig here and there. Do a late night show. Do a music show. Do some mixes. Do some advertising jingles. Do some links. Do whatever it is that it takes to get you on the radio. Don't wait to train for that. Forget about it. Just go do it. If you want to do classical music, Lyric FM is what the Irish one that does, but there's plenty of digital channels. We're changing over here to digital, slowly but surely, and then there'll be 1 million channels when we get there. So you'll be able to start your own bleeding channels. What do you think of the VW Arteon? Arteon's one of the nicest cars Volkswagen's made since the CC. It replaced it, but it's unfortunate that they didn't do the slender look of the CC as well and keep the name. Don't know why they went Arteon. I think it actually hurt the sales. I think if they'd have made a new CC, they would have ended up with a better car. I still look very mushy on the video. I'm not too sure if that's a blur that's happening there. What's quality of the thing or something. Do you know anything about Mazda hybrids? Says Mostly Mushroom. I have a 6, and I heard rumours about them bringing out a hybrid. Love the show, thank you very much. I don't think they will be. I don't know if they... Mazda stated that they weren't going to go electric or hybrid. They'd go mild hybrid. So mild hybrid is different. Mild hybrid is not a hybrid. A mild hybrid is an assistance thing. So when you're starting off at the traffic lights, a mild hybrid helps the petrol engine get you going. But then the mild hybrid gives up and the petrol engine takes over and keeps going. That's what they're calling Sky Active or something. Mazda have a language of their own, but Sky Active is all about being light, and their Sky Active engine mild hybrid is what they've got, and it's already currently in Mazda 3, which I've driven. There's a video on my channel about that one, and it's a good car, it's a good engine, it's great. I just worry about the longevity of these engines, whether in 10 years time this engine will even operate anymore. A CVT, Bob. Yes, I'm poor. I'm poor as well. We're all poor. Printer pad. Don't worry, we're all poor. Everybody is. Everybody. Don't even consider for a moment that a guy next door to you who has a lovely big car has plenty of money. Chances are, if you have 50 quid in your pocket in cash, you probably have more money than he has. The printer paddy says hello, Bob. Thanks very much for joining us there, the printer paddy. You're a bit late, but anyway, thanks. Anyway, faces, we're come towards the end. Here's a 370 review. That's true, 370Z review. God, that's an old video. Don't watch that. I look like a child in it. It's probably 9 years old now, is it? Would it be 9 years old? Wouldn't be far off. I think this channel is 10 next year. Next June or something. I think this channel I made is 10 then. Started off just being called Smokers Pack. Now it's called Bob Flavin. I'm a farmer. I think my occupation is disrespected. You're right. It is disrespected. I have great time for farmers. I met a farmer on Friday. Was it Friday or Saturday? Can't remember. Whatever it was, Friday. I was out doing filming for another company. And his farm came up beside me, and the sun was shining out of the sky. It was 21 degrees. We're standing there in a beautiful, clear blue sky. And he said, tomorrow it's going to rain at 2 o'clock. And you know what? At 1:37 p.m. there was a clap of thunder outside the house, and it absolutely pissed rain. And so that farmer has my ultimate respect. Whether he looked that up on Google Maps or some sort of a weather app, or he just stood there and went, it's going to rain tomorrow. Whatever happened, it was a brilliant little conversation to have. So a great time for farmers and what they do. We don't respect them at all properly in Ireland for what they've done over the years to raise beef and to turn the Irish beef industry into a worldwide phenomenon, and the Irish butter and milk industry into that as well. It's a shame it's been diluted and pulled apart by Lidl and Aldi and Duns and Tesco's and all these guys just buying in things from Northern Ireland or France or Germany and rebranding it. So it's terrible what we've done here. Let's see more of it done here. Steve A says, totally agree regarding plastics, but surely to move to electric cars is a step in the right direction, although small individual basis. Individually, if we all get together and stop using plastic, we will make a worldwide change. And I mean worldwide change in an incredibly short period of time. So if we all today, if there's 110 people right now watching this video, and by the time it's finished, maybe 3,000 people will have watched this video. If all 3,000 people stopped consuming unrecyclable plastics, and by doing that stopped using plastics in general, or as much as humanly possible, we would actually have an impact on the whole world with that one decision. Just 3,000 people. It's not very much. If 3,000 people bought 3,000 brand new electric cars, it would take us maybe 30 years to see the benefit of that, because of all the new plastics and all the new metals and all the new recycling things that had to be invented for electric cars. So it would take much longer. We can have a much faster impact by just not using plastic. Now, doing both, of course, if you can afford to change your car to electric and you can afford to stop using plastic and you do all that sort of stuff at once, you're going to make more of an impact. But the trick is to be able to do a small bit yourself. A lot of this seems unachievable to the ordinary person out there. You look at it and go, God, the Amazon is burning. What do? Go with a fire extinguisher? It makes no sense. To us in our head, we can't do much as an individual about that apart from talk to our politicians, who, let's face it, have no power in that region whatsoever. So what's the point? We can make a difference about what we purchase, how we spend our money, what we buy in a shop and how we use it. Buy second hand. Buy off, I'm not going to advertise adverts.ie, but buy off adverts, buy off Done Deal, buy off those kind of things. Not cars, second hand things. I buy second hand things all the time. That phone, iPhone 7, that's second hand. I didn't buy that new. I bought it used because it's dirt cheap that way. I save a fortune buying things used. A lot of things I have sitting in front of me right now are used items. They're not new. So that's how we recycle without recycling. We continue getting a life out of something. Anyway, right, so Andy says that Nissan 370Z video is 8 years, 7 months and 1 day. So there, nearly 9 years since I've driven the 370Z. So Nissan, what are you doing like? Where's the Nissan 380Z and 390? Anyway, recent episode on accessibility is so good. I don't know where that came from Joe Lyons. Are Mazda Sky Active engines having timing chain problems? Yeah, I read that too. Don't know how widespread it is, whether it be a callback on it or not, but they seem to be having some sort of problem with the timing chain going loose and getting noisy. That can happen to timing chains over years, but timing chains tend to be a lot more expensive to make. All Nissan engines used to have them. Now they're gone timing belt. They're not as reliable anymore. Hi Bob, any news about Dyson EV? I think it'll be any good or will it suck? Really enjoyed your show. I drive a truck at night, listen to your podcast on Spotify all the time. Thanks, Rob. I love a Dyson EV. It's going to suck. I'd say it's rubbish, to be honest with you. I'd say Google seems to have gone quiet on their EV as well and their automated driving. They could come up with something recently. I think they're working with Tesla on something. I think Tesla's going to run aground at some point in the future. They'll just run out of money. They'll just be drained of money. Slowly but surely over time, but we'll see how that works. Maybe Volkswagen will let them exist for it. I always say VW, Volkswagen in general, because Volkswagen is a very, very big group, and I mean a big group. Like when you start roaming around with the kind of stock they have, they're just caught on the back foot at the moment for electric cars, but you see how much money they push out on that as well. And on another matter, Rob Conn, you're right, I haven't put up a thing on Spotify in the last couple of weeks, so I will endeavour to download all of these episodes from the Sunday service and convert them into an audio bit that we can put back up on Spotify again. So Spotify will be updated over the next while. Listen, it is now 4:15, so we've streamed for 2 hours, over 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes or so, and it's been absolutely wonderful to have you along on this bleak and horrible Sunday afternoon. Hopefully you will join me again next Sunday. I will be here next Sunday. Yeah, I will. For another Sunday service. If you haven't before, click the subscribe button and click the little bell icon beside that, because the little bell will give you a notification on your phone that I go live, and it will tell you straight away whether I'm live or not. Thank you very, very much for watching. And until the next time, I will see you on the far side.